I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. This is Brian Smith, your host, along with
Kerry Smith.
And I'm getting the angle on Periscope just right. Can we get it right this time?
It never is right. Don't even worry about it. I wouldn't even worry about it.
All right. Sorry about that, folks. This is Smith Radio, military veteran talk radio. I served in the United States Air Force back in the 90s, and Kerry was in the Marine Corps back in the 90s, about the same time. And my brother also served in the Air Force, so we've got a lot of family members that were in the military. And we come here with a unique perspective on Smith Radio. Kerry seems to be more of like an analytical scientist, numbers,
engineer type.
All
guy.
about that. I tend to be a little bit more emotional, but it's all good.
That's why we work so well together.
We work really good. So we do this every Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. If you want to listen to the show on our broadcast station, go to Smith Radio, SMYTH radio.info. That's where we directly broadcast from. Also visit smithradio.com, a treasure trove of information there, as well as our Patreon button. Please click. And then a couple of red glaring buttons that will say live and iHeartRadio, because you can listen to us on iHeartRadio on the go. And if you want to watch us, we've been doing Periscope we each individually Periscope at least once a day so far now. Recently,
I would say for me at least 3 times a week.
Okay,
I had 3 times in one 24-hour period, but that's because things were going out of control and it had to be done. It had to be done.
Sometimes it has to happen. And I've been doing a ride home scope, if you will. So check that out at Brian P. Smith, and Kerry is at Smith Radio on Twitter. And if you want to watch the show visually on Periscope, we've got a lot of new technology we're bringing on board here. Thank you to all our Patreons. Very much appreciated. A lot of new technology where we can show you videos, and the sound bites that were usually sound bites are now video clips, which are really interesting. And I've also incorporated the Periscope with some breaking documentaries that most people don't get to see. So if you stick with me, put the alert button on, check it out on Periscope. Monday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night seem to be the times where I get kind of fired up around 7 p.m. If there's nothing to watch, check out Periscope. Might be a documentary on.
They're very popular because they're interesting and they're things that you just don't see every day.
I did a couple weeks ago. I played the movie that Hillary Clinton didn't want anybody to see, that was banned from the theaters. It was a documentary, and it was banned from the theaters and whatnot, yada, yada, yada. You know, the same story. I was a couple of weeks ago, and it's got 7,200 views.
Okay.
So I'm pretty excited about that. That's cool stuff.
Good to go.
This week, this was a very difficult week for Kerry and myself for a number of reasons, but mainly it's been so long since Las Vegas happened. And literally, we went off the air last weekend, 8 p.m. Eastern. Las Vegas went down 1:30.
1:30. Well, that's when we started.
10:30 their time, 1:30 our time.
Yeah.
And
at least that's when people started really realizing something went down in Las Vegas.
Right.
Because initially, now if you look at the timeline, it actually started at 10:05, but nobody knew that anything was going on. And then some reports started trickling in, and then it just spread virally in the news across the nation. By about 10:35, it was like everybody knew what happened if you were still awake. I actually fell asleep. And by the way, that was 1:30 our time.
Correct. 1:30 Eastern.
I had just fallen asleep after watching a documentary about World War I, which was very strange. But woke up in the next morning and I was just like, what? And it was all over the news as I woke up.
And I'll tell you this much, folks. If you go to patreon.com/SmithRadio and you donate at least $1 to the cause, you will be plugged in like we were. I woke up Monday morning and we have a private message group for Patreons only. And
it's like a party. It's like It's kind of like a social gathering every single day. Imagine being able to vent your political discussions and your concerns every day to a supportive group of people who will give you a pat on the back virtually and say, there, you're awesome, you're great, we all agree with you. It's pretty much what it is. It's awesome.
But we've got folks on the private message group that are plugged in to the system and have a very, very good sources on the inside, if you will. So when a lot of these things go down, we really do get a lot of great information first and foremost, and a lot of it. And then we'll comment back and forth. So you can talk with Carrie and myself 24/7, as well as the rest of the Patreons, and ask questions. And it's really, really good. And not only that, but we've also decided to do this. We'll pick one Patreon a week, either have them on the show if they want to be on the show for a little small segment and talk about what they want to talk about. Or if you're shy and you don't want that, you can just message me and we'll talk about your topic. And the topic that was messaged to me today, what the hell is going on with all these conspiracy theories, man?
Oh.
But hold on, folks. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute.
That'll be the topic of the day, right?
But until then, we're going to talk about the Vegas situation, kind of give it an overview. We're going to clean it up. We're gonna make it right. You're going to understand more about what's going on, what's real, what's not real, the people to listen to in times of crises like this, and who not to listen to. And I'm definitely turning off Alex Jones. I'm done with you, bro.
I just got blocked by somebody today because they said that I am spreading conspiracy theories like Alex Jones.
Here on Smith Radio, and if you listen to my scope the other day, I even said whenever I slip down a rabbit hole of sorts or conspiracy theory of sorts, I hit the redial. Carrie, pull me out, man.
Yeah, I'm the guy that's like the adult in the room when it comes to these conspiracy theories. Yes. And I got blocked today by somebody who interpreted one of my tweets to be Alex Jones-esque, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Man.
Oh, yeah. So I responded by saying, apparently this person didn't follow me very closely, so it's not a big loss. Right?
Right. No, that's cool. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, because if they followed me closely, they would know that I'm the last person to block for that reason.
Right. And I'm going to tell you this right now, folks. We are so close to being retweeted by Donald Trump. Why do I say that? Because a young gentleman, or I don't know if it's male or female, but it's at Opinions America on Twitter, just tweeted to Trump and said, strong administration leads to a strong response. And Trump retweeted that, and he follows us. And he has about the same amount of followers as us. So it's not that far off for Trump to retweet one of us one day. We support. Just saying, Trump, if you're listening, we support. Go back to all our shows. We support the AmericaFirst agenda.
He'll retweet us this week, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So speaking about that, speaking about the administration, oh my goodness, did you hear about the breaking news this morning?
This morning?
Well, there's two things. Breaking news this morning, AM, and breaking news this afternoon, PM.
Okay.
Which one you want first?
Let's do AM because I like chronological.
Okay. Well, it might not be breaking anymore, but breaking news this AM. Apparently, and I was going through the news, I was doing the show prep, and I ran across this news article, ABC News, that wrote an entire article and said Corker, who's a senator, Corker is free agent status should make Trump and GOP nervous. I'm like, what? Corker from Tennessee, Bob Corker? He's a free agent status. So what does that tell you? What does that lead you to believe? Free agent status.
It sounds like you're referring to him, no longer being a Republican, so now he's an independent? Is that what you mean?
Or maybe he got fired?
Yeah, right.
Or
fired.
Maybe he quit?
He's open for somebody to say, hey, I'll take him.
Well, it started popping up on my phone, started getting all these news messages, and I'm like, oh, the hell with this. I went straight to Trump's Twitter feed.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, okay.
Which is hard to do because Twitter shadow bans him for the most part.
right. So right after I read, and it's so crazy, that article came up, and I started reading Trump's Twitter feed, and he did a 3-blast feed
Which is rare. That's really rare.
It's when you have so much to say. And Twitter now thinking about doubling the characters to 280. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, and I guarantee you that it'll be a special upgrade that you have to qualify for. I guarantee it.
Well, the problem I've got with all those characters you're allowed is it goes back to Facebook. Facebook, you could write an entire paragraph. You could write a whole book.
Right.
You should keep it. And I've had some folks tell me, oh, this is so difficult, 140. No. It makes you creative, brah.
Yeah. It makes you change ARE to just the letter R and YOU just the letter U. And forget, the ampersand is back, drug out from oblivion. And now the ampersand is a very popular character now. At least it is with me, anyway.
Right. So, folks, if you're listening to this Smith Radio and you like what you hear, please share this with your friends on Facebook right now. You can click the 3 dots. If you're listening to it on Periscope, the 3 dots next to the comment section where you can make a comment, click those 3 dots and you'll see multiple options. Share it with all your friends, share it with Twitter, and then go down the bottom and says share broadcast. Click that and it'll give you the option to share to Facebook. Just saying, we've got some new folks that have told me that they're a little bit with it, the learning curve is like a hockey stick on Periscope.
You're saying that you could learn it quickly.
Yeah, they're getting the learning curve. We're working on that. Anyway, so Trump tweeted out a 3-tweet tweet. Tweet 1, 2, 3, and this is what he tweeted out. He tweeted out, Senator Bob Corker begged, in quotation marks, me to endorse him for re-election in Tennessee. I said, capital quotation marks, no. And he dropped out. In parentheses, said he could not win without ... my endorsement. He also wanted to be Secretary of State. I said, all capital letters, no thanks. He is also largely responsible for the horrendous Iran deal. Hence, I would fully expect Corker to be a negative voice and stand in the way of our great agenda. Didn't have the guts to run.
Okay, so my interpretation of those 3 tweets, you read them all 3 together, right?
All back to back, right?
Okay. My interpretation is that he's sending the message, and I think rightfully so. I think he's right on with this. He's sending the message to anybody running in 2018 that, I mean, he's the gatekeeper, right?
Yes.
I mean, at least that's what he's saying. And the argument might be able to say, well, what about Moore? He didn't endorse Roy Moore. He endorsed his opponent, and now Moore won. So you're wrong about that. Well, not exactly. I mean, we all kind of knew what the game was with Alabama. The game was that he was fulfilling a promise, and it was more important to him. And I'll give Adam Gingrich the credit here. I asked him what his thoughts were of why this is going down. This is kind of different. That it was more important to Trump and the Trump movement for him to fulfill a promise that he would have made to endorse Roy Moore's opponent as whatever deal he made with McConnell. Right. More important to not renege on that promise, which would be a big problem. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to have your word matter, right? Your promises need to be fulfilled, and so it was more important for him to fulfill that obligation than it would be to endorse Moore and go back on it because Moore was going to win anyway. I think he made a very, very strategic decision there. Now, going forward, these 3 tweets, it's pretty much like, bam, you better get my endorsement. You better support my agenda because if you don't get it. And here's another thing, too. For those of you that are saying, well, it's not about Trump, it's about the movement. Well, Trump is trying to get these people to support his agenda. And the agenda is the movement. It's not about Trump when it comes to the agenda.
Right.
It's about the movement. And if you're not going to support the movement, he's not going to endorse you. And then you're going to be like Bob Corker. And that is exactly the message he was sending here.
Well, and not only that, but folks, if people are, and I was talking to my wife about this, if anybody says to him, people do say to me often, hey, man, I just wish Trump had stopped tweeting, man. And like what he says embarrasses me, man.
So that I was going to say my first thing out of my mouth would have been like, why?
Right.
Why?
Right, and that's what I asked him. Why? Well, you know why, man. He just can't shut his mouth. And I'm like, well, can you give me an example of exactly what he did that embarrassed you? Nah, come on.
Do you know why they can't?
Quit harassing me.
Do you know why they can't?
Why can't they?
Because a lot of times they're made to feel embarrassed because they'll hear on CNN, Donald Trump embarrasses the Republican Party again with a series of embarrassing, very, very embarrassing tweets. And so people like him are like, oh my gosh, I wish he would stop tweeting. This is so frustrating.
Right.
And then as soon as you ask him, well, exactly what was it that embarrassed you? The reason they can't tell you exactly why is because there wasn't a precise exact example. It was that they heard the mainstream media suggest him. It's like hypnotism. They suggested to him that he should be embarrassed by these random tweets that we're not going to give you the information on. We're not going to describe the tweet to you. We're just going to tell you that it was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing that we're not even going to utter what he said on the air. We're just going to tell you that it was embarrassing. And then you go to work and you tell your colleague Brian over here that it was embarrassing and that you're embarrassed and I wish you would stop tweeting.
Right.
Ridiculous.
So the Washington Post, the Washington Compost, immediately gets together and rallies the troops to watch and observe Corker's tweets, hoping that Corker would tweet out today, and they got lucky.
Oh, did they?
They wrote an entire article about it and posted it front page.
It was probably written already. They were just waiting for the cue from Corker to respond, they fill in a couple little detail words here, and then bam, they spit it out.
Corker tweets out, "It's a shame the White House has become an adult daycare center."
Oh, no.
Someone obviously missed their shift this morning.
What? What does he think, that there's like a hired guy whose job it is to, like, what? Be on Trump tweet watch or something?
Something. So he should have left that last part off, but it just sounded so. These politicians really are pathetic. Listen, even the liberals and the rhinos, whenever they try to be funny or witty or sarcastic, it comes off so bad and so wrong because they've lived an entire lifetime to make sure never to offend anybody.
Yeah, so they're not brushed up on it.
No, they need to call me. They need to call me.
Brian will set them straight. I could totally see that.
So the Washington Post wrote down just the first couple of sentences of this article. It says, Washington Post, by alienating Corker, Trump risks further endangering his legislative agenda.
Wait a minute. Was it ever less endangered than now? I mean,
Kerry, you don't understand. Corker is a free agent.
Okay.
And now Trump risks furthering endangering his legislative agenda as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Corker would be a leading voice on Capitol Hill determining the future of the Iran nuclear deal, should Trump decertify the agreement and punt it to Congress, a decision about whether to restore sanctions against Iran or not.
Well, we just heard from Trump in his tweets that he was integral to making the Iran deal happen in the first place. What is it?
Right.
Are we expecting him to do a 180 on it? No, we expect him to lose in the election because of his horrible, horrible deals and decisions, and it's just negligent. It's un-American. It's a danger. His lack of intelligence is a danger to the security of America.
Somebody on this scope, maybe you're trolling us, I don't know, said that Trump's approval rating all-time low. He could have used Corker.
Oh, my gosh. It's sarcasm. It's got to be sarcasm, okay. Right? Thank you so much for the sarcasm. That did come through. See, a lot of times sarcasm doesn't come through the comments. You know, it's just text, you know? But it did that time.
I did one time, dude. I had to hone my skills very early on Twitter. One time, this was before Jake Taper had blocked me. I literally tweeted something out, and it was supposed to be sarcasm. It wasn't. It was mud on my face.
Oh.
I had to delete it, walk away. It took me about 12 hours to just clean up, pick myself up, and act like nobody ever saw it.
Yeah, because initially you were like, no, we don't ever delete tweets. I mean, you just got, because it'll make it worse.
You even said to me.
I said somebody screenshot it the instant he deleted it. Somebody tweeted the screenshot and said, "Oh, you tried to delete this."
I did. I really did try to delete it.
Yeah, no, you didn't try. You did.
I did delete it.
Right. It's funny. You know, sometimes I think everybody I know, I'm pretty sure has deleted tweets over the years. I've had to delete tweets, you know, keep this a secret. This is just between you and me. But we were trying to make a push for getting blue check marks.
Yeah.
And so we figured, well, one thing they're going to do is scour through our Twitter feed. So I went through and I deleted any tweet that had the word Twitter in it or Jack, like at Jack.
Oh.
Yeah, at Jack is Jack Dorsey.
That's
who's
so
the
frustrating.
CEO. Yeah, so I deleted all those tweets, and some of them were really old. And also, I also searched all known cuss words, and I deleted those because a lot of times I'm not one to just cuss as a part of filling in for words to make me sound like I'm saying more than I am, which a lot of people do. I know teenagers do that, especially like high school juniors and seniors. They try to fill in a lot with a lot of cuss words. You know, that happens a lot.
We had one said I throw up all the time, and I have to delete tweets daily.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so I went through, and well, it turns out that in the past, when I was a noob at Twitter, I would cuss a lot to try to drive the point home to who I was arguing with. And a lot of times it wasn't just that I was using a cuss word. I was actually being a little bit abusive verbally. It was more so verbal abuse than it was, oh, look, he dropped the F-bomb or something like that. So I deleted all of those tweets. And after all of that and an inside track, somebody that knows Jack personally tried to throw out a lifeline.
Hey, can I call a friend?
And after all that, we were just completely ignored.
Yeah.
So I might as well not have deleted all those tweets.
Now, I've been told if you want a blue check mark, I've been told that people who have received them, I have heard through the underground, conservatives, that they have tried multiple, half dozen to a dozen times. You can apply for the check mark once a month, once every 30 days. And friends of conservative friends said that they've have to attempt it at least 6 to 12 times. And you've got to be legit before Jack greenlights it. But then there's still a lot of them that Project Veritas. Still.
James O'Keefe.
Yeah, James O'Keefe. When I first got on.
Laura Loomer, who used to be
James O'Keefe's partner in crime, if you will.
Assistant.
Yes.
She was James O'Keefe's assistant, and she has a blue check mark. And basically she got it within, a month or so of leaving Project Veritas.
Right. And so early on in my Twitter days, I saw someone had said something to Jack about, hey, Jack, what's up with the blue check mark? And he responded that he is trying to become the most followed person on Twitter that is not blue check marked. That's now a goal of his. He doesn't want it.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Is he up to 250,000 yet?
I don't even know. And it doesn't really matter. The thing is Twitter has decided that the blue check mark is going to be a way to reward and punish people for behavior that they like and dislike. We saw that with Milo Yiannopoulos. I mean, they did you know that before he got banned, they took his blue check away from him?
Oh, it's like when in the military, in the Air Force, if you got 3 stripes and you do something really, really bad, they'll I knew a guy, he got a DUI in the military, and they took a stripe from him.
And
money.
Yeah, there are things you can do where you can lose all of your rank.
Yes!
Yeah, there was a guy that got sent to the brig for something.
There was a guy that didn't pay his taxes for 9 years.
Oh, no.
And he retired and left the country of Italy we were in. And they called him back. He had to come back and face the music. They took his stripes and his money.
Oh,
yeah.
That's terrible.
Anyway, so you're saying that...
Okay. What do you got?
You're saying that...
Somebody trying to call you or something?
No. We've technical difficulties.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I mean, is everything working?
I think I'm looking good.
All right. Can you guys still hear us? Brian just ran into some technical difficulties with the electronics. I want to make sure that you still are on board. Anybody there? Yes, no?
Yeah,
thumbs up.
So we're getting who needs.
Somebody said no sound. Joe Papa said no sound.
Who needs blue check marks? Anyways, you guys know who we are.
We might be good now. It said trying to connect, and now we're good. I think.
Cool.
It said it's looping for me too. Come on, people.
Anyways, we're just going to continue with the show. Folks, if you've got sound issues or issues on Periscope, let us know because we've been dealing with issues on Periscope as well. Matter of fact,
What was the message that it popped up there? What did it say?
It said, would you like to continue recording?
Yes! That's not good. Yes, we would like to continue recording.
So I got an email from this company that we work with on the technical aspect of the show whenever we play videos or play shows or sound clips. The company had sent me an email late Friday night and said, hey, just a heads up, Periscope is having major issues with our coding.
Can you hold on real quick? For those of you listening on Spreaker right now, you're going to have to give us a second. How long would it take you to redo this? Because they're flat out saying it's broke. They're saying it's broke. They're saying it's looping. It's re-looping. It's doing it for me too.
Okay. It could take me a minute if you would like to talk about something.
Yeah, it's like literally re-looping.
Okay.
It's funny because I can see your guys' comments. You guys probably don't even hear me right now. You guys in Twitter Periscope jail. Here, I don't know. It's weird. I can see all your guys' comments, but I don't see. I'm watching the loop too. I'm watching the loop. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, if you guys can hear me, somebody type in patreon.com/SmithRadio.
That would be very nice of you.
That way I can know if you guys are hearing the new stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's literally looping. So now they're calling it Groundhog Day because it keeps on looping. Yeah, you're going to probably have to restart it. Man, how would that happen?
It says we're live.
Oh no, it's looping.
Okay,
it's literally looping.
All right, folks.
What is this? Let's see if it's looping for you.
The country of Italy.
Yeah, it's looping. See that?
Okay.
All right. So folks. if you're on, is it going to stop on SmithRadio.info?
No. Jump over to SmithRadio.info. You'll still hear the show as we continue to go and we deal with the Periscope. I've been thinking about going to Facebook Live, but we'll see how it goes. So jump over to SmithRadio.info.
SMYTHRADIO.
And watch for the Periscope. I'll bring it back up.
All right. So we were just talking about the Corker-Iran deal and what Trump has been tweeting out about him and Corker's response, which is pretty hilarious. Like Brian was saying, that Corker is one of these guys, these swamp rats, that don't know how to be snarky. They don't know how to be controversial and actually get away with it and sound funny and sound smart. So instead, when they do it, and it's not just Corker, it's not limited to Corker, it's all these guys who are like these establishment, politicians who've been around forever, and it's just really annoying.
Well, even John McCain this week.
Yeah. Oh, all these guys are. Anytime they try to outdo Trump or out-Trump Trump is what I should say, and try to be snarky and be rude, if you will, in a funny way, they always fall flat on their face. They might as well. I mean, if I was in their position, I would just go ahead and jump on the Trump train and let the chips fall where they may. And it's really scary. It kind of makes me wonder that they're so reluctant to do that. They're extremely reluctant to do that because at first you're like, gosh, are these guys like these old dogs that won't learn new tricks? Are they? Is that how bad it is? That's really a problem if that's what we have in our leadership, that they can't think or behave dynamically and try to analyze a situation and make the best decision based on the facts on the ground. Because if they did, they would say, wow, it looks like the country is really hungry for a leader like Trump. Let's just run with it. But instead, they're kind of like, we need to defeat Trump at any cost. And the problem I have with that is the only reason I can think of that a smart person would come to the decision that the best decision for them is to go against the Trump train and against the Trump movement and against the voters who've come out and supported Trump, who have come to these rallies in the tens of thousands, bigger than I've ever seen any politician in my entire life. The only reason I can think of that they would just completely ignore that or just decide against that is that they probably are extremely corrupt. And if they're extremely corrupt, it's like, okay, who's corrupting them? And what is their real agenda? What are their real goals? What are they really trying to do? Because it sounds to me like they're just trying to make decisions on behalf of people with the money, the people that are corrupting them. It could be their super PACs. It could be lobbyists. It could be George Soros. It could be a single person or like George Soros, or maybe a small group, or it could be some sort of a lobby like the left always accuses the right of being the puppets for the NRA, which is silly when you consider how small they are compared to some of the other lobbies and how little they spend on politics compared to some of the other lobbies. And so it just really makes me wonder who is corrupting these people, because what else could you think of to explain why they would be reluctant to jump on the Trump train? It seems like a winning strategy to me. How you doing there?
We are up and running on Periscope, folks.
Good. Awesome.
I got no answers other than the fact that I've been told that Periscope does not like Trump supporters. Other than that, I don't know.
Well, it's weird because the one device said, "Would you like to continue recording?" That was kind of weird.
Right. Very strange. And I have gotten messages that Periscope seems to be the only platform. The only platform that when people live broadcast, they don't mesh up very well with technology. Facebook Live does a great job. YouTube Live does a great job. And some of the other channels that are out there do a great job. But apparently Periscope, not a great job. It does say made by immigrants. So I don't know. Made in America by immigrants. Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Cheap labor. I don't
know. I guess they're. Well, we know a guy who knows the developers at Periscope personally.
Right.
And he said they are the most lazy, apathetic people you've ever seen, because he would talk to them and give them great suggestions, because he's also a programmer, a developer himself.
Right.
And he's like, wow, you could really benefit from your customer base if you did this, or it would be a much higher quality product if you did this. Just these little features. Or, hey, can you fix this little problem that they're having?
I just found out. I think I know what it is.
Uh-oh, what happened?
We had a couple of trolls on the show that I blocked.
Yeah.
They were really trolling hard.
Okay.
And I blocked, and somebody just posted, I was given a message, do I want to continue to watch this show? Folks, this is how bad it's gotten. They will find us. They will report us multiple times until Periscope says, I better ask all the people in the scope if this is... It happened to me before.
In a scope?
In a scope.
Now, I've seen multiple times where they would ask you, they would say, will you read this comment because we think it might be appropriate? Do you agree? Is it inappropriate, or is this okay?
Right.
And of course, if it's something that's right-winger posted that's not offensive, like, vulgar or whatever, I'll usually say, yeah, that's fine. And if it's a left-winger, I'm nice. If it's not vulgar and if it's not threatening, I'll say, yeah, that looks fine. I didn't know that they did that to a cast.
You can do it to a scope. Yes, you can do it to a cast if it's that bad. I've had people tell me that the cast was reported as violence. Is this cast talking about violence or having something to do with violence? They're like, no, of course not. Wow. I've had that happen.
Well, you've arrived when you actually get shut down.
Sweet.
Yes. So congratulations, Smith Radio, for getting shut down by leftist trolls, because that really says something.
It says a lot. Folks. And the second breaking news of the day, the afternoon, did you hear anything about the NFL at all?
I didn't. I'm tuning it out totally.
Anybody hear anything about Vice President Mike Pence?
I didn't.
You know he's from Indiana, right?
Sure.
And he's a Colts fan. If folks, for those of you who have never been to Indiana and don't know the Colts or don't even like the Colts, that's fine. If you live in the state of Indiana, there's only one thing you do in your entire life, and that is buy Colts stuff.
Okay.
Like at the airports.
They're like rabid fans.
It was so bad. And I mean, Peyton Manning was the if there ever was a mascot for a state, Indiana had one, and it was Peyton Manning.
He's the official human of the state. The state human. They got the state flower and they got the state bird. He's the state human.
Yes, the state human. So check this out. And this is no joke, folks. After Peyton Manning had left and went to the Broncos, let me tell you, the fans were absolutely grief-stricken and heartbroken.
I could totally see
it. It was
that.
emotional. So he left, went to the Broncos, and like a year or so later, maybe 2 years later, I was taking my mother-in-law to the airport. Sometimes it's a whole lot cheaper to fly out of Indianapolis than Cincinnati. Long story, won't go into it. So we took her to Indianapolis and dropped her off the airport. I was walking past one of the shops that sells stuff, and it just, gee whiz, I looked, and there was a Broncos jersey. And I said, what? I'm in Indianapolis. So I had to look. I don't know. I might have taken a picture of it. This is so long ago. They had Peyton Manning's Bronco jersey and Colts jersey at the Indianapolis International Airport.
That's unbelievable. I can't even believe that.
That's
so
love for the man.
So they love him so much that they're even willing to wear a Broncos jersey. Because let me tell you something. When Boomer Esiason went to the Eagles, it was the Eagles, right?
We put up
was it the Jets? Was it the Jets?
The Jets.
Okay, the Jets. When he went to the Jets, we were like burning. Look, guys, we were not burning Jets uniforms. We were burning Bengals uniforms. We were burning Boomer Esiason. We were so angry at that guy. And you know what? No, people have not really forgiven him for that in Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, you don't hear people talking about Boomer Esiason as this great person or whatever.
Well, when Boomer is on ESPN or he's on TV talking about football, I hear them referencing Jets, referencing other things. It's not often that they reference Cincinnati when they talk about Boomer. I don't know. Maybe it's just my perception.
It's bad blood. Bad blood.
Peace out. Bye-bye. Don't let the door hit you in the backside. Okay, so anyways, but this whole long diatribe. Sorry about that.
Let's get back. We got taken off course by these trolls.
Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, you've got to respect the man for the integrity that he has, for his stalwart attitude, just his ability to say, you know what, this is what I believe in. I'm a Christian. I'm a family man, a father, a husband, just that kind of guy. And I promise you, when the lights are turned out, it's in the dark, and he's by himself, he's the same guy that you see when you see him on TV. I promise you. So Mike Pence goes to the Colts game playing against San Francisco. And that's why I brought this whole thing up, because Pence is from Indiana. So why wouldn't he go? Huge Colts fan. So as the National Anthem comes on, San Francisco and a couple of Colts knuckleheads take a knee.
Even now, after this time and after what happened in Las Vegas and all that, they still need to make a completely confusing. They want to send the confusing message. They want to continue to confuse and insult patriotic NFL fans with the taking of the knee. Okay,
and I want to get this straight. For those of you on the Scope, folks, this is the first time on your Scope, you're listening to Brian Smith and Carrie Smith. We're cousins. We do this with Military Veteran Talk Radio. We do this every Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. We expose the fake news, and we tell you what the real news is. And I got somebody on the Scope, and I know this was going to go this way. I knew it was, and I wanted to bring it up. Trump did not order Pence to do a damn thing. There was no, who called the order? Who called the order?
Did you order the code red?
Yes.
You're damn right I did.
There was no code red. Nobody.
You're damn right I didn't.
Yeah, you're damn right I did. Right.
Gotcha.
So Pence and Trump tweeted out. Trump tweeted out, I asked VP Pence to leave the stadium if any players kneeled. Disrespecting our country, I am proud of him and Second Lady Karen. So this was after he had done it. I'm very proud. Apparently they talked about it. Pence tweeted out right after this or right before this, I stand with POTUS Trump. I stand with our soldiers. I will always stand for our flag and our national anthem. And then he put a picture, because you can't write this many words in a tweet. So he took a picture of
War and Peace, like a long,
He took a picture
plaque.
of a piece of paper that he typed out on, put it up
man.
there. But it was well done, and it was framed just nicely, almost as if somebody said, hey, you know what? You might need this one day. I made it look really good. Take a picture of it, and you can post it when you're ready.
I scanned a 250-page PDF, and I posted it onto Twitter.
Right.
Oh, my
So
God.
this is what he said. It's just a few lines.
Oh, okay.
It's like a small paragraph, and this is what Pence wrote, not Trump. Pence wrote, I left today's Colts game because President Trump and I will not dignify any event that disrespects our soldiers or our flag or our national anthem. At a time when so many Americans are inspiring our nation with their courage, resolve, and resilience, now more than ever, we should rally around the flag and everything that unites us. While everyone is entitled to their own opinions, I don't think it's too much to ask NFL players to respect our flag and our national anthem. I stand with President Trump. I stand with our soldiers, and I will always stand for our flag and our national anthem. Amen.
That's awesome.
No, he didn't write amen. I just said that.
Right.
No, but this is serious. This is really what it's all about. It is not about what the Washington Times talks about, or CNN or MSNBC, where they're taking a knee to protest Trump. No, dog. They're not protesting Trump. They're protesting Blue Lives Matter. They're protesting our military veterans. They're protesting what the flag stands for. The flag doesn't stand for Trump, y'all. The flag stands for us. All us Americans across this nation. The folks out there in Vegas. That's what they're all Americans, all of us. For you to take a knee now. Damn, y'all. I hope you feel the heat of the Americans. And I've got some extra data in the show stuff that shows NFL is and has taken a pretty good hit in recent.
Well, yeah, and I would like to see what the numbers are. That would be very interesting because it would pain me to know that this didn't affect them, or maybe it helped them, or it didn't hurt them, or whatever it may be. That would be a little painful for me, because I like to think that we're going to rally around each other and around our country and around the flag, and be patriotic enough to where they take a hit on this. That's what I really believe.
Did you see that video that was posted about the cop? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm sorry, folks. If it's a cop, military guy, it might have been somebody, might have been an average Joe in Vegas during the shooting. He was in the Trump went to go visit these folks in the hospital, y'all. Okay? That's just what he is, that kind of caring a man that's willing to, that wants to. His heart just says, I got to do these things because I just have to. Some people are compelled to that. He is definitely compelled to that. He's got much compassion. So Melania walks into the hospital room, and the guy is, in the bed in his. The guy looked like Kerry when Kerry was dying a few months back.
Oh, I didn't look that bad, did I?
Oh, good God.
I mean, I was fine, wasn't I?
Yeah, it's all good. We need to touch it up, put some foundation on, give you some
my
color.
gosh, I didn't think I was that bad.
No,
I probably lost a few pounds, but
so the guy's in his bed, and as Melania comes around the corner, he pulls his sheets back. He starts to. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. It's gripping, folks. Go to my timeline on Brian P. Smith on Twitter, and you'll find it. Smith with a Y. So he starts to pull back, and he's like trying to get his feet down to the ground. And Melania's like, no, you don't have to. And he's like, I stand for my president. Literally with everything the guy had, stood up as Trump came into his room. You can't make that stuff up. I would have done the same thing. I believe probably most Americans would have done the same thing. You know?
I thought that was really cool. Maybe it was a little... Look, I don't think I would have been able to get out of bed. I couldn't even hardly move when I was in there. I had this mid-gut ailment thing going on that, I don't even know if they really fully diagnosed it, but I couldn't move.
It was called a trichositis.
It took me 3 days to be able to get up to do anything.
It's called a trichositis is what you had.
I don't know what that means. A trichositis?
It was a trick appendicitis that didn't happen.
Oh, right. That's right. They thought initially it had to be appendicitis. But
they were going to start removing your organs.
Yeah, they were going to start. Well, it's called shotgun troubleshooting. Where they just start, you remove something and you're like, okay, that wasn't it. And then you remove another thing. They used to do it on the aircraft when they were just totally clueless.
If aircraft, auto mechanic can be expensive, but nobody dies.
Right.
I'm just saying, you start troubleshooting like that.
Nobody dies when you remove an appendix. Well, I shouldn't say nobody, but I'm saying it's not like you need a replacement.
Anyhow, so the whole video of the guy doing this was just emotional. It was really good. I love to see that kind of stuff. You don't hear about it much, folks. It doesn't happen very much. But when because the mainstream media won't put it out there much. But Fox News Insider Poll, Fox News Sports Favorability Poll, they used a company called the Winston Group who did this poll, and it's a favorability poll on sports. What are you watching? What's most favorable to you? And in August, a couple months ago, 61% said Major League Baseball, which I can understand that because August, pretty much that's all that's really going on. I mean, I don't think the NFL's even started yet, has it? Maybe preseason?
Yeah, they've had a couple of weeks.
Okay.
They've had a couple of weeks.
And so
it's funny that really tells me a lot about the fact that you don't know that. That tells me that you are truly doing the boycott. Brian is really living up to the promise to America.
I haven't been doing it, folks. I have not. The last one, I told you all, the last one I watched, and I could die now. I can actually die now. And when I get to heaven, I see St. Peter. He's like, man, did you do everything you had to do? And I say, hey, St. Peter, I watched Tom Brady come back like ain't nobody come back before. St. Peter be like, all right, you right, man. Come on, get in here. That's how it would go down in my mind.
Yeah, but in my mind, I'm like, I actually spent an entire season without watching any NFL games.
You should have watched the Tom Brady one. That's the only one you ever need to see. The greatest show ever.
Unbelievable.
Anyhow.
Unbelievable. So, I'm so disappointed.
But that was the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Super Bowl.
Right.
I'm making an excuse for that one. So 61% Major League Baseball. 57%, just a couple points under, in second place, the NFL. Apparently, NFL postseason, preseason, ready to roll, maybe even playing a couple of games or whatever. NBA isn't playing right now, or they weren't playing in August, and they were told, people had told 47% NBA, which is kind of strange, but I guess they're getting fired up. NBA's getting ready to roll.
Right.
September, the numbers change a little bit. September, MLB, Major League Baseball, is coming up into the World Series and the finals, and everything's kind of coming to a head for MLB. So naturally, they're at 63%. Just sounds normal. That's understandable. NBA hasn't really started in September.
Right. I don't know exactly when they start, but I know it's not September.
they jumped into second place by 46%.
Well, they may have started already, haven't they? I don't know. I know that the finals are in June, and they have several months off.
Okay.
So,
NFL, from the month of August to the month of September, slipped from second place at 57% to third place at 44% in 1 month.
Wow. So it's true then. The numbers are proving that this thing is having a negative effect on them.
And we reported last week that the Nielsen ratings only give numbers to the football games that are broadcast nationwide. And your local affiliate, they'll broadcast your local show. Nielsen ratings don't calculate for that. So my whole point is, if they did, they may see a further drop in viewership. And maybe that's why they're not including that. If you exclude something, there's a reason for it. And if you want
trying to hide it.
Right. If you want to look good, you would include it. If you don't want, whatever the case may be, the point is, within the past couple of months, Nielsen ratings have shown that the NFL has taken at least a 2 million viewership hit. 2 million viewers less? They're around 50 million viewers, but 2 million viewers less. I know it's a small drop in the bucket, but for 4% of your people to not watch you, and based on the fact that you hate the country you live in.
I wish it was more. I wish they were taking a massive, massive hit. But I think there's people, there's that group of people that just really don't get into the politics. It would be shocking to me that it didn't affect them, because they are hearing this on ESPN.
Right.
And they are hearing this during the announcements of the games that they're watching. So it would be shocking if they just didn't really notice that it was happening or that it was that big of a deal. And the other type of person is the person that's like, look, Carrie, it annoys me. I'm patriotic, and it really pisses me off that they're behaving this way. Man, this is football. This is NFL. I can't watch my Bengals.
Right.
That would have been almost like my dad, except my dad got fed up and he didn't watch it. And then, of course, there's also the NFL fan that is actually like, that damn right, I'm taking a knee with you.
Because I'm taking a knee against Trump.
Right.
What?
I voted for anybody but Trump, so I'm taking a knee with you.
Oh, can I tell you something really painful? This millennial I work with.
You bring him up every week now. He's going to be part of the show.
He listens to the show.
So he's listening right now.
Yeah, he listens to the show.
All right, okay.
So, no, we talked about this, and he said that he was thinking he was siding with Sanders. And I said, why? I said, he's an outspoken communist. He's like, well, I didn't like Hillary, and I didn't like, I don't know, Trump thing, I guess. And I don't know. Sanders just seemed like, the thing to do. Let me tell you, he's not alone. There was a huge... If Clinton didn't cheat with DWS and the DNC, Sanders would have won. We talked about this the whole run-up.
What an unforced error. She didn't need to cheat. Does anybody here think that Sanders really was going to win? Even if they gave him help, even if the DNC said, hey, look, I understand that we're supposed to give it to Hillary because she's next in line and we owe her so much, and also she's a rampaging murderess and she will definitely kill us like she killed all of these other people. And so we need to be careful. But you know what? We want to be fair this time, and we know Sanders is going to appeal to a certain amount of people. Let's help him out because, we like everything to be equal, and people that are, we want to do the opposite of a meritocracy. So instead of saying, well, you know what? Clinton is just outperforming you, Sanders. I'm sorry. Instead of doing that, we're going to see that since Sanders is underperforming, we're going to help him out. Even if they did all that, I don't think that Sanders really had a chance. I really don't. He just didn't have that massive movement momentum that the others had. With Hillary, it was all about the first woman president. It was all about she was the first lady for 8 years, former president, and also she had just been involved, and she was kind of the runner-up last time around, she came in second place to Barack Obama, who we all knew. I think it was wishful thinking to not realize that whoever the Democrat nominee was going to win the presidency, because the fake stream media successfully propagandized the nation for 5 years. From 2003 to 2008, the mainstream media, the fake news media, was successful at getting people to think that there was something wrong with George W. Bush that was so bad that we need to elect the first communist president since Woodrow Wilson.
Right.
And that's what happened. So that being said,
somebody asked, why are we rehashing this? Well, we're not rehashing it, just brought it up as just a heads up. People are now talking, and when I say people, mainstream media is now talking about 2020 and the run-up.
Yeah, there's three big names that they keep bringing up, and that would be Sanders, Clinton, and Biden.
Right.
So,
and let me tell you, folks, the NFL is not doing this by accident. Did you hear the Washington Times? Not the Post, Washington Compost. The Washington Times.
Which has been, a little bit more friendly with the right wing? Or
it seemed like they do more investigative journalism where they'll dig deep into stuff. Check this out. Tax documents released. Now, we're talking about the NFL. Okay?
They're supposed to be nonprofit.
The union. They're profit all day long.
Yeah,
Union bosses, NFL, everything union. If you're in a big union, teachers union, government union, which is an oxymoron, should never be, or the AFL-CIO unions for auto workers and things like that, no matter what, you give them your dues because you have to. No matter what you say, they will always give their money to the Democrats.
Oh, yeah, big time. Big money. It is part of the major corruption.
Right. Your father knew it when he was involved in the union. My sister, who is in a union, knows it, and there's nothing they can do about it. Okay.
But you worked for a company that was unionized, and you took advantage of the fact that they can't force you to pay their dues.
That was a nightmare. In Ohio, there's the right to work state and some other things. If a company has a union, you can choose not to join it, or you can choose to join it. However, if you don't join it, you still get all the benefits, but you will get heat from those that are paying and anger. It's very divisive. Anyway, so the Washington Times tax documents released by Second Vote, that's just what it's called, Second Vote, show that the NFL donated $5,000 in 2015 to the Center for Community Change Action, a group of activists in the anti-Trump resistance, and bankrolled by a host of liberal foundations, including top Democrat donor George Soros' Foundation for Open Society. A member of the AFL-CIO, the NFL also contributed in 2013 and 2015 to Working America, the AFL-CIO's community affiliate, which Open Secrets said spent $1 million in 2016 to defeat Trump. Working America has since mobilized against Republican tax cut framework, denouncing it as Trump tax scams. Soros is working with the NFL and the AFL. Also, it's working with the NFL and AFL. Okay. And the NFL contributed $5,000 in 2014 to Jobs with Justice, another pro-union group backed by Soros, and $5,000 in 2013 to the Progressive Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy. Small numbers, if you will. The $1 million isn't a small number, but I'm just saying. Tax documents show that the NFL has in the past donated to and aligned themselves with anti-Trump, pro-George Soros, open society, meaning no borders.
Right. Globalist.
What do they say? The one world order.
Yikes.
That type of thing.
That's scary. That's just an attempt to consolidate power so that when they turn it to communism, the entire world is communist.
Right.
That's like the way the Cold War gets won.
Right. And this article from the Washington Times, you can check it out. It's on the timeline, my Twitter account at Brian P. Smith.
One last thing about that. Last thing. The argument that they made when the IRS scandal happened, when they went after all those Tea Party groups, when Obama went after the Tea Party groups, the argument they were trying to make was that, whoa, you can't have nonprofits and then be a political organization that's pushing for political candidates. That's not right. That's not how it works. Well, that's exactly what they're doing with all of their organizations, including now the nonprofit organization called the NFL. So if they're going to turn the NFL into a political mouthpiece, then, we need to go back and talk about the argument that the left made to go after Tea Party groups during the IRS scandal.
Right.
So that's my take on it.
And folks, you're listening to Smith Radio, Military Veteran Talk Radio. I'm Brian Smith, and this is my cousin
Carrie
Smith.
Sorry, I'm trying to converse with the
interwebs.
Yes.
The interworkings.
Well, the comment section.
And we've been doing this for 4 years, folks. We started doing this as documenting the falling of Rome, if you will, the demise of America, the falling apart. Just kind of document it. Maybe somebody in 1,000 years from now might run across it, or maybe our children, when they grow up, they might want to go back and say, hey, what was my dad like? What was my grandpa like? Or some of my grandkids or something like that, which would be pretty cool. I would have loved that as looking back at my grandfather that did a political talk show.
Yeah,
I think that'd be pretty cool. Maybe not my kids, but maybe the grandchildren. Anyways, it's turned full circle for us, and we are actually doing what we love to do, which is to help support Donald Trump, help the America First agenda, help make America great again. That nothing more than we would love to do.
And don't ever forget to point out that we've been doing this since long before Trump even decided to run.
Absolutely.
And that's important to point out because there are a lot of Johnny-come-latelys, and there's a lot of people who their only existence seems to be at first to help Trump win election and then to support him in his agenda. And we go way deeper than that, way, way deeper than that. And that's why we invite you to check us out every Sunday, because it does. I mean, we are governed by a philosophy that Trump ended up falling nicely into. It's like putting a square peg in a square hole. That's pretty much what happened.
Right. And
we already had that ideology. We kind of come from like that Tea Party background, which is why I feel like a lot of the Trump movement was like the disenfranchised Tea Party people. And and we've been doing it since 2014 or so. Like it was a while ago that we started.
Right.
So.
We're going through our fourth year. Come up in spring will be the completion of our fourth year and the start of our fifth year.
Wow.
Let me tell you, folks, 2020 is right around the corner.
But we're going to be doing a lot of work for 2018 too. So there's a lot of candidates that are going to be up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff is right around the corner.
2018 and 2020 back-to-back coming up. It's the next 2 years are going to be enormous. Help us help Trump. Help us help make America great again. Jump over to patreon.com/Smith Radio, and $1 will get you in the private Smith Radio message group. And we will take one comment or one idea from a Patreon individual and talk about it on the show. And if you want to be a part of the show, if you want to come on the show, we might have you on for a few minutes, do a smaller segment, and talk about what it is that you want to talk about and kind of go around that and explore it all, if you will. That being said, do you want to touch on Vegas?
If we go into Vegas, it's probably going to take us to 8 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So if there's any other things that you wanted to get off the table before we get into that.
Well, I do. We could talk about...
you guys want us to finish strong with the Vegas stuff.
Puerto Rico is not becoming Trump's Katrina.
It's not.
They're stopping it. They're ending. They're walking back Puerto Rico.
Yeah, because they're doing a good job, right?
The last article I saw, and I posted this up, it said something to the effect of Puerto Rican bonds landslide sharply after Trump mentions maybe we'll wipe out their debt. How horrible of Trump to do that. I'm like, come on. You're talking about a good thing and it being a negative thing in the same sentence. It's just so frustrating. What else would you have a country do that has nothing? Nothing. It's gone. It's all gone.
Right.
They're going to be in more debt just to try to get it back. I mean, just, what are you going to do?
Yeah, the rebuilding is going to be something they're going to be working on for many years. In fact, if you were a resident of Puerto Rico, you'd probably be referring to what life was like prior to Maria and post Maria.
Right.
Because it'll be different. It's like everything has to be rebuilt, all the buildings that have crashed and been damaged to the point where they have to be rebuilt. It's just going to look different.
Florida's taking in an influx of a lot of Puerto Ricans, folks. A lot of Puerto Ricans coming into Florida.
So we see a drop of actual population on Puerto Rico, possibly.
Yeah, definitely. But if it becomes that tourist mecca that it possibly could be, that would be great. That'd be really good. And Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah.
He's kind of a lib, he's kind of a, like a Dem, a little bit of a liberal. I had a soundbite, but I can't find it, and it doesn't even really matter. But he came out and blasted fake news reports about Trump and Puerto Rico not going well, and it was good. It was really, really good. There were a couple. These people in Puerto Rico, these politicians in Puerto Rico are just despicable, folks. That one woman still screaming and yelling. People are dying.
Still?
Yeah,
even though she met Trump finally, she got to get her photo op, I guess, with him. She's a real piece of work because
we're dying here.
She's clearly been co-opted by the fake news to try to turn this into the next Katrina. What is in it for her? Is she just generally a communist? And when a communist comes to her for help, you got to help out your fellow brothers and sisters. Is that how that works?
I think so.
I mean,
she got a call up from the DNC and said, "Hey, a little bit. There's gonna be some money in this for you.
Yeah,
but we need you to do a little something."
Right. I could totally see that. Because
but that means I'd be acting the fool. Well, you want the money or not? Okay, I do it.
Yeah.
It's like that Bugs Bunny. He said, "If I do this, I did a whooping." I do this.
Oh, I think I remember that. Wow. For those of you who are Bugs Bunny fans. So anyway.
Did you hear about Charlottesville last night?
Charlottesville last night. No, fill us in.
What happened in Charlottesville last night? CNN, Mayor of Charlottesville, and the governor, all in bed together, DNC, Deep State, Dark Web, and good friends with Obama, by the way, all three of them.
Oh,
Governor,
yeah.
Mayor.
You're talking about Charlottesville, Virginia.
Right.
Oh, yeah, this place is, it is not a coincidence that rally, if you will, was a KKK/Nazi rally in that city that went horribly, horribly bad, turned into big riots. Antifa was there in bigger force than ever. We talked about this. This was not a coincidence. This whole entire thing was completely staged, including the Nazi with the very nicely creased flag.
Yes,
that was freshly unfolded for the event, and it had nice. I mean, it almost looked like he used an iron to make these creases.
He was doxxed.
Yeah, he's doxxed, and it come to find out he was a very strategically placed FBI agent. And so the whole thing was just a big an act.
So we got Joe Pappas on Periscope. Says Terry McAuliffe, Clinton's all big. They all run with the same crew, the same crowd, and Obama definitely part of all of this. They've got to do everything they can and throw the kitchen sink to try and disrupt. Folks, it wasn't this bad for Bush. Because Bush didn't fight back.
Right. The whole thing is are you going to resist or not?
And Trump is resisting.
It's like trying to swim back in to the beach when you're in a riptide.
Right.
You could just let it float you out, nice and comfortable. You're just floating out to sea, no problem. Or you could try to get back into sea or into the beach.
And live.
And it's going to be really painful. And it's going to be tough. And that's what Trump's doing. So describe to us what happened last night in Charlottesville.
CNN article that came out today. Charlottesville mayor slams despicable visit as another torch rally held. I scratched my head. I was like, huh? Another torch rally in Charlotte? This has got to be old news, right?
Yeah, like it was like you were hearing a video from back then.
No, this just happened.
Another torch rally.
Yes. And they made it a front page article. They made it all out to be about Nazis, KKK, alt-right, attempting. They will never stop to attempt to plaster the racist, bigot, sexist, homophobe, all those titles to us. They will continue to do that forever. And the only thing that we have in our arsenal is to fight back on this. Now, you've got some insight on Richard Spencer, and this deals with him. The article they wrote says officials in Virginia denounced white supremacist Richard Spencer and dozens of his supporters who held another rally holding tiki torches in Charlottesville on Saturday night.
Hold on a second. You said another. This, if you're quoting this directly from CNN,
yeah,
I never heard that the tiki torch rally that happened months ago was organized by Richard Spencer.
Well, apparently they're saying it is.
They're saying again as if not only is this one organized by him, but so is the other one. To me, that's a false statement. Literally, what they just said was revising history. I have never heard. Am I wrong about that? Am I wrong about it? Was it Richard Spencer who organized the rally in Charlottesville? I don't think I ever heard that. And by the way,
it's the first time I'm hearing this.
Richard Spencer.
Fill everybody in. Who is Richard Spencer?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I can give you some insight, but not. To me, he seems kind of like a mystery. Here's the problem with Richard Spencer. He does claim, look, I'm not a Nazi. The Nazis hate me. They want to kill me.
Okay.
And I'm not a KKK because I'm just not. I mean, KKK is like a more organized historical thing.
I'm not a KKK because I really, really hate the movie American History X.
Did he say that? Or is that? I mean, I don't know. So he claims that they hate him, and I believe him when he says I've never been affiliated with those organizations. I believe him, although it's kind of odd that he was at this rally early on, like a couple days before the election, screaming "Hail Trump, Hail Trump, Hail Trump," and then several planted actors in the crowd threw up the Nazi salute.
Let me tell you, I saw the video just recently while doing show prep. It was so obvious. The camera panned to the people in the audience, and there was just like one.
Now, what Mike Cernovich said about this was key. He said the reason he was so pissed at Richard Spencer over that was because he found out that Richard Spencer invited the mainstream media.
Oh, you can't do that, man.
Well, if he invited them and there's a bunch of people randomly strewn about the crowd throwing up the Hitler sign or whatever they call it, the salute.
Hail to the Nazi. Or
there's a historical name that goes beyond Nazi Germany for that salute. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it kind of makes you wonder if Richard Spencer is just a plant from day one. Like he had been paid for and bought by Democrats from the day. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. How could a person who's not a complete moron, who claims to be a Trump supporter, think that it would be helpful to invite all the mainstream media to a rally where you're going to stage people in the audience to give a Hitler salute? How on earth is that supposed to be helpful? To me, that is a willful attempt to try to sabotage Trump. Because if you don't believe that, you're too stupid to do anything. And so that's my background on Richard Spencer. But he claims he's not part of this. Some of his supporters say, "Look, I know everybody says he's a Nazi. I know there's people that are calling him alt-right and they're saying he's racist. But if you talk to him face to face, man, everything he would say, you'd agree with him, man. Everything he says, you got to talk to him face to face." Here's the problem: if you can't get past the image problems, then I don't know, man. I mean, maybe you're just gonna have trouble having an audience anyway.
Very well possible. And folks, you're listening to Smith Radio. I'm Brian Smith. This is Kerry Smith. We do this 3 hours every Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. If you want to be a part of the show, obviously, if you're listening to this on iHeartRadio, which you very well can on iHeartRadio, if you want to watch the show live like a Ditto cam, kind of like Rush's Ditto cam, this is our Periscope cam. Jump over on Periscope when we're live at Brian P. Smith, SMYTH. Or if you want to listen to it live, you can jump over to Smith, SMYTH, radio.info, and jump over to smithradio.com. Check out the website. This is Military Veteran Talk Radio. This is what we do, folks. And we are talking about what went down in Charlottesville last night. What happened in Charlottesville last night?
So Tiki Tortures, Richard Spencer is being given credit for it, and they use the word again.
The second time.
So they've revised, CNN has revised history and given Richard Spencer de facto or after the fact credit for the first rally,
right?
Which I don't think I ever remember him getting credit for, but okay.
No. So it's on Saturday around 7:40 p.m., a group of about 40 to 50 people, including Spencer, gathered at the Emancipation Park, where the statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee stands tall and menacing and shadowing.
Menacing.
Sorry about that, folks. And Charlottesville police said. So apparently 40 to 50 people, including Richard Spencer, showed up at Robert E. Lee's statue. There is nothing illegal about that. If Kerry and I and a handful of you listeners got together and walked downtown to see Garfield's statue down on Garfield Street.
Right in the middle of it, by the way.
Right.
You know they moved it? It used to be in the center of the entire
I thought it was when I was a kid.
Almost like a roundabout. No. It would have been before we were born. Long time ago.
Oh, okay.
They moved it off to the side and put it in between Garfield Street, I guess. But anyway.
Oh, okay. Folks, if you like what you're listening to, please share this on Twitter, share this on Facebook, and like it, and tell your friends and family about it. So there's nothing wrong with getting together and looking at a statue, or it's almost like a tour group.
Okay.
A group of folks just touring around.
With Nazi flags.
They did not say there were any flags there.
Okay. But tiki torches.
They did. I don't get the tiki torch. What do you...
Oh, apparently this has all been exposed.
Well, I get the history. And please tell us the background, because people are probably listening.
I got to give
tiki torch. What's that mean?
I can't give a full background on it because I learned it just recently. Apparently, there's a ritual that is something that I think the KKK may have done. Or it may have been Nazis. One of the others. One of the hate groups. And it's a ritual where they do the torch march. And, of course, it wasn't tiki torch. It's kind of a joke that it's tiki torches because they don't do, like, the big flame torch like you see in the movies. It's a little tiki torch.
We got people on Periscope saying, WTF, tiki torch?
Yes, they're actually holding up tiki torches as if they were going to do a luau or something. Right. So they're all walking out, and then they're in formation, so they're covered and aligned like they're walking like a paramilitary formation. And they march down the street and they arrive at their location, and the tiki torches are supposed to signify something, but it's an actual ritual that goes back to Europe and some of the Nazi stuff and whatever. And for them to do that is not a coincidence. It's
right.
Definitely tied to all of that.
Okay.
And they're trying to make a statement there.
So everybody's saying yes, KKK and Nazis, symbolization. Okay, so they're there. I almost would think it would be a joke because you can go to the 99, the dollar store, and you can get cheap China tiki torches straight out of China. So they're real cheap.
Like made out of China.
Right.
Like you could break it if you dropped it or something.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Because it's made out of China.
Oh. Because I guess China is so cheap in China.
Well, I mean, it's breakable.
Yeah.
It's certainly breakable. So, not the fine China.
No, not the fine China. So, CNN goes on to say the group held a brief rally that took an estimated 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes. Dude, if a group of 40 people walked by something for 5 minutes,
mm-hmm.
how would you... Who knows that?
You wouldn't even react. It would take too long for you to even react. I mean, how long did it take for them to assemble?
Well, I mean...
Was it an hour assembly and then they walked for 5 minutes?
Right, by the time you cracked open your phone to videotape it would almost be over.
Yeah, I can't even do a scope in less than 6 minutes.
Right, so 5 to 10 minutes, they dressed similarly.
Whoa. They weren't uniform?
Well, according to the description of the similarly, they probably should have said uniform, but I think they were insinuating it for the reader to delve deeper into what sinister plans they had with the way they
is
dressed.
Antifa not dressed similarly?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, but I would say that they're almost uniform.
Right. They were dressed similarly in white shirts, and some wore sunglasses in the dark while chanting, "You will not replace us. You will not erase us."
Oh, this must be the white genocide argument.
Yeah. Hello, Charlottesville. We have a message. We're back, and we're going to keep coming back, one speaker said.
Okay.
Spencer and his supporters alleged that Charlottesville was suppressing their free speech and said that its residents should get used to the alt-right. You're going to have to get used to white identity.
White identity. That's so, to me personally, that's really ambiguous. Like, what does it mean to be white? A lot of times it really simply means that you have white skin and there's nothing more to it.
Get used to my skin.
You're right. So that's so weird. And they all make the argument, if you've never heard this argument before, they make the argument about white genocide. And if you understand race the way I do, and I feel like I have a somewhat unique understanding of race and race relations and just the dynamics of race, and it's really culture is what it is. But they have this belief that when you move black people into a white neighborhood, that is forcing the kind of integration that could lead to interracial couples, and then you have children, and since the children aren't white, that's less white people, and so they're doing that for that very reason, and over time you erase the white race that way, so it is genocide. And it's a completely ridiculous argument. Completely ridiculous. Because there's several reasons. Number one, it's an insult to the word genocide.
They're giving tiki torches a bad name.
Well, right. So, yeah, it's really stupid. That argument's really stupid because, first of all, if you're half black and half white, you didn't genocide. It's like my argument with the genocide of the Native American.
Right.
There are people all over the country, all like millions and millions of people all over America have Native American blood. Why? They have the genetics of Native American. Why? Because they aren't really genocided. I don't know if the proper word there to use. They just integrated and intermarried and all that. I mean, obviously, there's not a lot of blood. There's not like it's very hard to find full-blooded Native Indian or American Indian or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, the whole thing's ridiculous. And the second thing that's ridiculous about it is that to say that because a white person gets into a consensual relationship with a person of color, that somehow was coerced, and in order to eliminate the white race, is an insult to the white person who made the decision to exercise their freedom to choose whoever the hell they want to be with.
Right. Absolutely.
So what is Richard Spencer going to find an interracial couple and say, you don't really love him or you don't really love her? You were made to be together. It's just completely ridiculous.
It's just like me, my wife and I, her grandfather is black from South Africa. And when my middle daughter was born, she was slightly purple. And we thought, oh, well, maybe that's it. And now that she's 8 years old, she's got a very olive-colored skin. I looked at pictures on Facebook from back just 2 years ago when my son was 1 and couldn't walk. I forgot how dark he was. He was almost like he had a suntan.
He still does have a suntan.
And now he's got this olive-colored skin, but whatever, man.
He's got blonde hair.
You can't blonde hair and blue eyes. You can't stop it.
And olive skin.
Right. It is what it is, man.
Right. And it's not like Brian looks at his children that have darker skin than his and say, well, these aren't my children. That obviously doesn't happen. I mean, the idea that you can look at a whole group of people and say that a race is being genocided is ridiculous. These are the children of mothers and fathers, and they love them regardless of their skin color. So for you to put them in a group that they're not supposed to love because there's or that they're supposed to be segregated, right? It's just ridiculous. And of course, they also argue for the white nationalism, which means that they are advocating for an Aryan nation or a nation where only white people run it and live there and that kind of stuff. To me, that's pretty ridiculous.
Right.
That's ridiculous, too.
PS Media, 1776, identifies as Black Irish.
Black Irish.
Cool.
I've actually met him before. That's a little surprising. That's a little surprising.
Might be trolling a little bit, but that's a good one. That's good. And I will have to say though, in Ireland, I mean, you're gonna find a mix of races. We talked about this last week. We're not gonna get into it, but last week we talked about it. How just because you come from a country does not designate your skin color. Democrats, please understand.
That was because the mayor of Puerto Rico was called a person of color.
Then she's a white woman.
Yeah, she's Puerto Rican, but I mean, if we're talking skin color, and then we said, well, Charlize Theron must be black then.
Yeah.
Because she's from Africa. It's ridiculous.
Something that popped into my mind. You know where all this began. This all began with Crayola.
Do what?
Crayola crayons.
How's that? You might want to jog my memory.
Remember when we were chitlins?
Yeah.
And you wanted to color somebody's skin in, you'd grab the flesh color?
Was it called flesh?
Yes.
Okay. Which is obviously racist, because whose flesh are we talking about here?
Right.
Okay.
So that's where it all began. They had to correct the injustice and rename it.
So
I think they renamed it to Peach.
No. What they did was they took the brown crayon and called it flesh. And then they took the one that was previously known as flesh and renamed it racist.
Oh, right.
And we
got to write what's wrong. We got to go full board.
Anyway, all right, enough of that. Yeah. The jokes are over.
Okay, so
comedy hour's over.
The rally ended in Charlottesville last night. They left the park. They boarded a tour bus that departed from the city. Charlottesville police said police cars followed the tour bus to make sure the group was leaving the city. Statement from the police. Our department.
You know what that reminds me of?
That's weird.
No, that reminds me. Who here remembers First Blood?
I do.
Do you remember the beginning? He walks into town and the sheriff comes up and says, "Hey, boy, where you headed to?"
Yeah.
"I'm just looking for something to eat." "I'm just looking for something to eat." And he's like, "Not in this town, boy. But I tell you what, let me give you a ride to the other side of town." "But I just want something to eat." And of course, he gets to the end of town. He's like, "Well, I'm hungry." And he says, "Well, there's a town with some restaurants 30 miles down the road."
Just keep
He's
walking.
on foot. He's on foot, and it's like raining and everything. And so, yeah, that's what it sounds like. So they boarded him onto a bus and made sure that they got out of town.
Well, it just says they boarded a tour bus. I don't know if it was their bus or if that's what they came in on. But what is really highly suspect to me is that the police said, we followed them to make sure they got out of town.
Exactly like First Blood. And what happened at the end of First Blood?
It didn't end very well.
Oh, no.
So the official quote from the police department says, "Our department is conferring with city leadership and the Commonwealth Attorney's Office to determine what legal action may be taken in response to this event. Police said in a statement, Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe tweeted out, "We are monitoring this situation as we continue to oppose these racists and their message of hate."
First of all, why are you calling him racist? Did he really say that?
It was in his tweet, Terry McAuliffe.
A message of hate. So this is scary. This is really scary.
Folks, we do not identify with Richard Spencer. I do not identify with Planned Parenthood. I don't identify with Democrats.
But I would defend to the death his right to act like an idiot as long as he's not physically hurting somebody. And message to Democrat communists, please, words will not hurt you. Sticks and stones, now that's a little different. But
might break your bones.
Words will not hurt you. And if you think that, I get a little nervous when they talk about, they'll try to describe the slippery slope that happens when words upset people. And it's like it becomes so hurtful that it's like being assaulted and that they need to react. And then there's the argument that, we know what Nazis did back in the 30s and 40s. We know what they did. If we could go back in time, we would stop them from doing what they did. They want to gas all the non-whites, all the Jews, all the people of color. They want to gas them all. They want to kill them. So why not be the good guy? Be the hero and be the Minority Report guy, if you know anything about that movie. That movie is about punishing people for crimes that they figured out that they were going to do in the future.
Thank you for being on his show, PS Media. I love it to death, man. Words make me cry on the inside. Words are violence.
Oh, jeez. Yikes. Yikes.
So, no, people are asking, what did they do wrong? Hey, y'all, what happened in Charlottesville last night? I don't know.
Sounds like a bunch of... Now, wait a minute. They may have violated some fire codes with the tiki torches. I don't know. It could be...
You might need a permit for 50 tiki torches. Because
Maybe.
Who would be allowed or who would want to have that many tiki torches?
Maybe it was dark out and they didn't have any flashlights. I'm just saying. Is it illegal to light your way with a torch? That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Look, we don't agree with anything that they believe in, almost everything that they try to say, and we just described this. Why we oppose it. But they certainly have the right to say it.
Freedom of speech extends to those who are idiots because they will tell you who they are. We don't want to take away that right from them.
Well, not only that,
to tell us what they are.
If we're going to not let people speak because of their ignorance or how stupid they are, then you open the door for the Democrats to redefine what stupid is. They'll say, "Well, I think the anything conservative is stupid." Next thing you know, you're being arrested for saying things conservative.
Right. So, just a couple of quick things before we get into Las Vegas and straighten it all out and lay it all out and let you guys know what really went down and how it is. Anybody that says anything about Donald Trump in North Korea doesn't matter because Japan is 100% on their side. They said this Sunday that the government fully supports the U.S. Stance on pressuring North Korea over its nuclear program with all options on the table. That's Japan.
Okay.
I'm cool. I had some people ask me what I thought about North Korea and their anniversary coming up of them being instilled by the communists back in the day.
Yeah. Communism installed after World War II.
Apparently, every year this anniversary comes up, they do something stupid.
Okay.
So
I heard it was every election cycle. That's what the South Koreans say. When they were interviewed about whether or not they were nervous that war was about to break out, they all chuckled and said no. And they were like, "Why not?" And they were like, "Because this happens every election cycle. He launches a couple missiles, he does a couple nuke tests, he talks a lot of crap, and then the election cycle's over, and then everything's back to peace and normal."
Right. And the whole remember the whole wiretapping thing where Obama wiretapped Trump Tower?
Yes.
Politico just exposed it and said it really did happen.
Politico?
By accident.
It must have been. It must have been by accident.
Because Trump got this hardline stance on what you should be allowed to do and not do.
Who?
Trump.
Okay.
When it comes to wiretapping.
Okay.
Politico did an entire story on the fact that Trump screaming, Obama wiretapped me. That rhetoric is getting in the way of this wiretapping stuff that they do.
What?
It's getting in the way of the real of everything that happened to Trump.
Wait a minute. So if Trump exposes publicly that he's being wiretapped, he's
hindering the renewal of this thing that got him wiretapped.
This is insane. It's comically insane. That's comical. What?
It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing.
You know what that is? That's wiretap inception. We're wiretapping the wiretapper, and the wiretapping is wiretapped.
Right.
And you can't expose it because then you're going to expose the exposure, and then wiretapping will not be able to wiretap because it wiretaps itself because of the exposure. So it's like twisted both directions at the same time.
Right. And prepare yourselves this week and the next coming weeks, folks. Planned Parenthood, which is PPACT on Twitter, PPACT, and PPFA on Twitter. If you just curious about that, I like to blast them every once in a while. But be prepared. They are gearing up. They're ramping up the war on women once again because Trump is removing the mandate that you
spit it out
provide contraceptive mandate.
Oh, okay. So
and they're ramping up the war on women. And again, Tucker Carlson, ought to check out the video. Tucker Carlson interviewed ex-Planned Parenthood employee that said her day-to-day job was to hire, fire, set things up, do things. And she said it is a fact. Planned Parenthood, their goal was to get contraceptives into the hands of women, young girls, because they knew that their likelihood of becoming pregnant would ramp up exponentially.
If they
took the pill.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's kind of surprising to me. It sounds counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
However, for the women out there that have taken the pill before, you know this as well as anybody else does, but most guys don't talk about it. I'm one of those weird guys that I pretty much know everything. I had a mom that said, you got two sisters, you should know everything they know. And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, ugh, gross. Now it's like, barf. I've got two daughters and I'm good to go. So anyways.
That actually helped you, right? As a father.
Yeah, definitely helped.
I could see that.
So now you've got this pill that stops you from becoming pregnant. The problem with it is that you must take it every single day at the precise time every time.
I remember that. Yeah.
I know girls back in college that were like, oh, man, I forgot it at home. I'll just double up tomorrow.
Whoa. Something's not right there.
Well, doctors would tell them to do that so that they could stay on track with their timeline.
Uh-huh.
Because you take it for so many days, and then so many days you take a salt tablet, which doesn't do anything. You cycle on, cycle off.
It's a way of producing a habit.
Correct. And so that's what they do. But if you miss it by this timeline, you will get the likelihood of you getting pregnant is unbelievable.
And that's kind of why they say that the pill has a percentage of error, kind of like, you know, you have this percentage chance of getting pregnant even if you're on the pill.
Right.
Well,
same with the condoms.
Yeah, well, a lot of that has to do with error, user error, pretty much.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So the whole Planned Parenthood thing, the push for contraceptives, they know if they can get the contraceptives into the hands of the young children, the young chitlins, the teenagers, and we can give it to them.
Young teenagers. Trust me, I know from conversations I've had, shocking conversations, how young they go.
Schools allowing kids to go to the health clinic at 12, 13, 14, pick up prophylactics, which is another word for condoms.
And by the way, if you have a daughter that's real young and you think, well, not my daughter, it doesn't matter. If you think or no, it doesn't matter. They go and they do not have to tell you anything. They don't have to notify the parents, nothing.
And in the state of California, they passed a law where a child can have an abortion, and the parents don't need to know that either.
That is...
You have to get your parents' signature to get ears pierced, but to have an abortion, you're green light, good to go.
That's just unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. Anyway.
So the whole thing's going to get ramped up, folks. I'm telling you, be prepared. Planned Parenthood's coming back with the fury and the vengeance. Some really good news, some positive up good news. Economy markets since the election. Dow Jones up 24.23%. S&P up 19%. NASDAQ up 26%. All these great things that are happening. And I know the jobs report for September. All I did was Google jobs report, and this was the top headlines for September. They're not lying, but this is the top headlines. New York Times, U.S. lost 33,000 jobs. CNBC, U.S. lost 33,000 jobs versus 90,000 increase. Wall Street Journal, U.S. economy lost 33,000 jobs. CNN Money, hurricane hit, U.S. lost 33,000 jobs. Business Insider, jobs report, shows first loss in 7 years after devastating hurricanes. Bars and restaurants hardest hit. Okay. So they did this report. Gary Cohen, who's National Economic Council Director and top chief advisor for Donald Trump. This is how they put this together to make him sound like an idiot. They said on Friday, said the White House was excited with the latest jobs report.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good.
Now this isn't him talking. This is the newspaper talking, which showed that U.S. economy unexpectedly lost 33,000 jobs during September. So they're making him sound like he likes the fact we lost 33,000 jobs.
That's what it sounds like to me. Can you explain to us what we're talking about? Why would he say that?
He was excited with the latest jobs report.
Did he not know it was about to be losses? Seems kind of strange.
He didn't know that they was going to write this up to make him sound like an idiot.
Okay.
So once you get further into the article, it says, quote, you're looking through, and this is from Gary Cohen, National Economic Council Director and top and economic advisor to Trump. Quote, you're looking through the numbers and you're looking at the wage growth and you're looking at the unemployment number, which is really good news here. Folks, this is what the good news is. Yes, we lost 33,000 jobs, and it is primarily due to the hurricanes that ravaged the South. Restaurants, bars, those type of jobs are now gone, at least until rebuild time. But when you look at the real numbers, average hourly earnings grew 2.9% year over year in the month, tied for the highest rate since the recession, but still lower than pre-recession average. The unemployment rate also dropped to 4.2% at its lowest since 2001. I know, folks, I know. The unemployment number is fake, it's phony, it's a lie.
Well, somebody asked me, how could the unemployment rate drop and jobs took a hit?
Right.
How is that statistically possible?
They don't report certain things that happen, whether people stop looking for a job, come off not looking for a job.
Well, there could be a large population of people that just recently retired.
Correct.
And maybe not as many people, young people, outpace the number of retirees, and that's just one of many, many different examples. It's a very, very dynamic number, and so it's very plausible that job loss would be up and unemployment down. So, yeah, right. There's a whole bunch of different factors that go into that.
And
number.
I blasted Obama and I blasted the media during his 8-year terror of reign by touting the unemployment numbers and the stock market, and because there is a phony element to it. And I'm telling you right now, even though Trump's president, there's still that phony element to the unemployment numbers. However, nobody's talking about it. Nobody's reporting it. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's reporting it. just like they were jumping on Obama's bandwagon, saying they were trying to find everything they could find to make Obama sound good.
Right.
It's so bad that Trump has to tweet out, stock markets hits an all-time high. Unemployment lowest in 16 years. Business and manufacturing enthusiasm at highest levels in decades.
That's true. I mean, I can actually, it's anecdotal. It's not like I'm looking at data points here, but just the overall attitude I'm getting from a lot of people and just the difference in the kind of the calls I get for jobs, is increased, and people seem to be more willing to spend big money on big projects as opposed to just maybe 5 years ago where people were just like, oh, yeah, I need to hire you to do something that if doesn't get done, we're going to have a major catastrophe. Where now it's more like discretionary spending, like, oh, let's do something opulent, that kind of stuff.
Now, I want you to do this, but hey, what do you think about this too?
Right. Yes. So scaling up on certain projects is definitely happening.
Voluntarily
yeah.
Scaling up on projects without having to upsell.
Yeah, like I'd really like to do this too, or this is what my long-term vision is. And so there's this kind of optimism in the general public that you just did not see about 4 or 5 years ago. So that is true. It's anecdotal, but I'm feeling it here.
Gold, the price of gold. Remember when it was almost like $1,900 an ounce?
Right.
And Glenn Beck was screaming, gold!
You better get gold or you're going to go down hard.
You'll be dead if you don't buy this gold at $1,850 an ounce. It's going to go to $5,000.
Yeah, they always make.
You know what gold is now?
I hadn't even checked.
Well, only because I got this new job.
That's right.
Brian, I got the gold job.
Brian's literally a goldsmith.
Yes.
Brian's a goldsmith.
A modern day, high-tech goldsmith.
That's exactly right. It's interesting.
Gold is $1,300 an ounce.
Yeah, that's down a little bit.
So if you'd have bought it when Glenn Beck and everybody's screaming during Obama's era, because we started this show thinking that we were all going to have to get gold, and then Kerry said, no, bro. Don't get the gold. Buy the guns, and we'll go get the gold when we need it.
I got to give credit to my friend. My friend who's a prepper was like, you know what you got to do, don't you? And I'm like,
yeah, get gold.
So I said, get gold? He's like, are you kidding me? I was like, what? That's what we're supposed to do, right?
That's what everybody tells me to do, bro.
He's like, in a crisis, gold is worth nothing. I'm like, wait, gold's never worth nothing. No, gold is worth nothing. The only thing that'll have value in a crisis situation is ammo, guns, and water.
That? Pretty much.
Oh, God.
He's like, you got to invest in lead. I'm like, what? Lead? Dude, what are you smoking? No, I'm not smoking, man. It's lead.
Because you got to line the underground bunker in case of fallout.
And then after the fallout, you use a lead liner to make bullets.
That's after the 15 million year half-life wears
out. Right. So, folks, look at the price of gold. Look at the economy, the growth, the movement, and something else. And this is anecdotal. This is Cincinnati. But I was told by our real estate agent that the product, if you will, that houses, there's like none out there. Like they're being bought up so fast that inventory isn't there.
It's a seller's market.
Yes. So do not think for 1 second that this ain't going good, because it certainly is. And the more they scream, yell, hate, and scream, yell, and hate, the more they do that, you know it's going right. And when Vice President Mike Pence schedules an appointment to go to California to raise money in Los Angeles,
that doesn't even seem right.
You know it's got to be good.
Wow.
Mike Pence is going to California to fundraise.
I don't think that's been done since Reagan.
It's a 3-stop tour.
That's pretty amazing. I wonder if in my lifetime we're going to see California go red. I mean, it's been red in my lifetime.
If you've heard some of the things that they're passing right now, probably never.
Probably never. Well, they set the stage to make it so that the state never goes red. And that's the key to communism is implementing certain policies and programs to make it so that you'll never be red again. And FDR talked about that. When they did Social Security, and I wish I had the exact quote because it's amazing. He basically said that, well, not only do we have something that us Democrats can run on next election cycle, but we'll be able to run on this for the rest of eternity.
Right.
And that's what they do. And
Right.
that's what they've done. That's what Social Security's done. And no offense to those who are receiving it
Collecting.
right now. And,
I mean, keep collecting.
who are living on it, who are requiring, or who depend on it
Right.
as a lifeline to keep them from starving. No offense.
No offense at all. And just to give you a heads up, Pence is going in the right place to collect, to do this fundraiser in the OC, Orange County. And this isn't Orange County Choppers. That's New York. The state of New York also has an Orange County.
Yeah, you're talking about the Orange County Choppers. I always thought it was California.
New York.
And
New
I was
Jersey,
like,
something.
Look at
East
the
Coast.
woods in the background. That does not look like California at
Because
all.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. No. But Orange County, California, which is below Los Angeles, in just below
Camp
LA.
Pendleton area.
Yeah. He's going in the right place. He's going to a place called Newport Beach. Have you ever heard of Newport Beach?
I feel like I've heard of it before.
You have. And here's why. Newport Beach is the elite of the elite of the elite. The tickets start at $2,700 to see Mike Pence and Kevin McCarthy. And if you ever look at a watch, like a $100,000 watch,
Okay.
$50,000 watch, or giant jewelry and gold and just really high expensive things, and in a magazine you're flipping through, you look down at the bottom of where you could buy this, and it usually always says Paris, maybe London, maybe not, New York, like always New York, L.A., and Newport Beach.
Really? That's kind of surprising.
And Newport Beach.
Because
it
these
is
are the only
always
places
in,
that can afford it?
dude. You want to see the cars of the car? When I met with our buddy in the network marketing thing, and he was driving a Bentley.
You were just amazed.
They live in Orange County. They live there in Newport Beach.
So this is where Pence is going to fundraise.
Where Bentleys and
Bunch of rich people, all the top 1% of 1%. Bunch of evil, money-grubbing, greedy, blah, 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 right?
that work so damn hard for everything they've got that they want to keep it. You either pay taxes or buy a new Bentley. Say you get a new Bentley.
Yeah, you actually save money. And
you're paying those guys that are building it.
That's true. That's true. So instead of it going to the government, it goes to the people that are building Bentleys. So I like it. I like it. So we're getting close to the hour mark, and we better this is going to be the stuff that's going on with the Vegas shooting. We need to get into it.
Okay, so
This is
you're
the big
listening
hour.
to Smith Radio, Military Veteran Talk Radio. This is Kerry Smith and myself, Brian Smith. Go live every Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Follow us on Twitter at Smith Radio with SMYTH. Or follow me at Brian P. Smith on Twitter. And you can also plug into our scopes on Periscope. Kerry goes a minimum of 3 times a week, sometimes more. Very good insight depending on what's going on. I do a ride home scope to where it's like a 30-minute ride home, kind of like the topics of the day, just kind of have fun with it, and we laugh a lot, and we joke a lot, and we talk about a lot of great things. And if you want to be a part of Smith Radio to help us get to the mega meetups, help us get the word out to more people, we're growing by leaps and bounds here at Smith Radio, new technology, new things, and really trying to help make America great again, whether it be Trump or it be Pence next. Whoever the next president is, Smith Radio will still be Smith Radio. And we've got to keep helping to get the word out, help make America great again. Jump over to patreon.com/Smith Radio. $1 by 5,000 people. That's $5,000. That's plenty. No big deal. $1. You'll also be invited into the private Smith Radio message group.
It's like a champagne room.
It is the champagne room. And you can hang out with us 24/7, ask us questions, and talk with other Patreons as well. Get firsthand knowledge and inside information that you will not hear anywhere else. That being said, we'll start this one off. We are going to talk about Vegas. We're going to start this one off with a message from
The great Donald Trump.
the great beyond. Donald
the
Trump.
great president of the United States.
My fellow Americans, on Wednesday I traveled to Las Vegas to visit with the victims of the horrific shooting, speak with their families, and thank the brave citizens, first responders, and medical personnel who saved so many lives. We struggled to grasp the evil that occurred on Sunday evening when a murderer shot into a crowd of more than 20,000 people. Men, women, and children were gathered to enjoy a concert. They never imagined it would become the worst day of their lives. But in the wake of such shock and horror, it was a matter of seconds before the goodness of the human spirit broke through. When the shooting began, a mother laid on top of her daughter to shield her from gunfire. A husband died to protect his beloved wife. Strangers rescued strangers. Police officers and first responders rushed into danger. When the worst of humanity strikes, the best of humanity responds. The men and women who risk their lives to save their fellow citizens give proof to the words of this scripture. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Americans defy death and hatred with love and courage. This week, our nation remembers all the wonderful people we have lost and all of the grace they brought into our lives and our communities. Among the fallen were young students full of limitless potential, law enforcement personnel, a nurse, teachers dedicated to our children's future, and many others. They were mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers. They were husbands and wives and sons and daughters. They will be dearly missed, and they will never be forgotten. To all those who lost a loved one, we cannot imagine your pain or erase your sorrow. Our hearts grieve for you. We stand with you now and every day after, and we pray that God may carry you through the anguish and sorrow. We can never fill the void of those who perished, but we pledge to honor them by living as they would have wished, with lives full of purpose, with hearts full of love, and with hope for a better tomorrow. May God comfort the brokenhearted, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
And that by President Trump. Are we good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, that was President Trump. It's interesting. So we're getting into this Las Vegas shooting. It happened right soon after our show last week. And I'm actually glad for our reporting purposes that the timing worked out that way. There was another big incident that happened years ago, and I can't even remember what it was, but I do distinctly remember that it happened like right after our show was over. It was a big news item. And it turns out, as a consolation prize for not being able to break news on it,
we can get it right.
We can get it right. That's exactly right. And I'm telling you, I feel like if we were doing our show on Monday morning, that we would have gotten so much stuff wrong, and we would have had some speculation that in hindsight would look ridiculous. So
we would have had a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, and what we did and what I did, I don't know, I'm not sure about Brian, but definitely I was obsessed over what people were saying about it, what kind of footage was coming out about it, what the media was trying to say about it, and of course the sheriff, what he was speculating. And there's so many people getting so much wrong here that I did more scopes this week to try to correct people than I've done in a while. And I hope that they were well received. I know some of them were, but I have been getting a lot of hate because we'll get into that in a minute. But let's walk through the timeline. I want to actually go way back in time, way back, and talk about the very, very earliest thing that we can talk about with regards to this shooting. And that is, I'll just throw out a June 27th, 2016. June 27th of 2016. This was while Obama was president. So Trump wasn't even elected yet. And the title of this article is New ISIS Video Appears to Threaten Las Vegas. When you start to hear some of the details, it's kind of freaky. Written by Christiane Klein, and it's LasVegasNow.com actually put this up there. And they wrote, any threat from ISIS is taken seriously. Monday, a new video from ISIS that many people say seem like it's targeting Las Vegas started circling the web. So how credible is the threat? 8 News Now, that's the channel, reached out to Metro Police for answers. However, Metro did not believe this was a credible threat, rather an attempt to inspire and motivate some form of action. The new ISIS video calls for specific attacks against U.S. cities similar to the attack that happened at Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Excuse me. Las Vegas isn't mentioned by name in the video, but images of the Strip are shown. The website pjmedia.com published a photo from the video that appears to be a pedestrian walkway connected to the Bellagio above the Strip. The video also shows footage of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. 8 News Now reached out to PJ Media to see if anyone could speak to us about the video, but we have yet to hear back from the websites. Experts say the intentions are clear, but security expert David Shepard with the Readiness Resource Group says Nevada residents shouldn't panic. Quote, part of what they're doing is to install some sort of fear in people, Shepard said. It doesn't mean something's going to happen. It doesn't mean there's any credibility to it. All they have to do is create one little bit of fear. So there's more to this article, but that was June of 2016. And it's interesting, is it a coincidence of what happened that it kind of sounds like ISIS was threatening this very thing? And the way that the article describes what they felt like the threat was specifically, which was an attack similar to Pulse nightclub, it kind of makes you wonder. So that was as early as June of 2016. On May 25th of 2017, ISIS video propaganda threatens Las Vegas. So there was actually more. It seems like multiple times they seem to be looking at Las Vegas. So these are things that you should consider when you're deciding on what exactly happened last week. On September 10th, 4chan has some interesting posts. This is September 10th, so shortly before the attack. What, about 3 weeks?
Right.
3 weeks before the attack, there was a series of posts by an anonymous man, or we assume he's a man, who goes by the name of John. So this is Sunday, September 10th, 2017, at 23:08. That's 11:08. Look, I feel bad for some of you on this website, so I'll let you in on a little secret. If you live in Las Vegas or Henderson, stay inside tomorrow. That's interesting. He says tomorrow, because tomorrow is September 11th. So this might just be completely coincidence.
Okay.
Right? This was written on September 10th, and he's talking about tomorrow. So he said, don't go anywhere. There are large groups of people. Also, if you see 3 black vans parked next to each other, immediately leave the area. You're welcome, John. And then 8 minutes after that post, he responded to some people and said, just stay away. Go to Arizona if you can. They won't bother you in Arizona. And then at 11:20, he writes, to clarify, I won't be doing anything to harm anyone. I'm not a killer and never will be one. So he's just trying to warn people. He's not saying that he's the guy. Because apparently people were saying, hey, what are you going to do, man?
Right.
I mean, I probably would have responded that way, too. It sounds like...
So what are you lighting off there, bro?
Well, why would he know? How does he know this?
Right, and are you involved? And why would you be involved?
Right. So again, 8 minutes after that, this will be 11:28, he wrote... It's called the, quote, High Incident Project. Now, check this out. Check out the detail on this. They want to make the American public think that places with extremely high security aren't safe. They're trying to create more regulations. You will see laws proposed within the next few years to put up more metal detectors and other security devices. Media and politicians will be saying places with a lot of police are not safe and need more police. I can't guarantee anything will happen tomorrow, but Las Vegas is on their minds. That's interesting they said that, too. So even though he's actually saying, look, it may not be tomorrow. Tomorrow's September 11th. It might not be tomorrow, but it's on their minds. And then the very last post that he wrote was at 11:55 in the evening. If their plan is successful, state of Nevada will pass a law in the future making all casinos have mandatory metal detectors and backscatter machines. Soon after, a federal law will be passed to put these machines in universities, high schools, federal buildings, you name it. OSI Systems and Chertoff are the main producers of these machines. Sometime around 2020, Chertoff and OSI will merge into a single company. After they merge, the owners will sell off all huge sponsors, all their stocks, and make billions in profit. Mr. Chertoff has been in contact with Sheldon Adelson. Mr. Adelson will become a huge sponsor of these machines, and he will be the first to put them in his casinos when the law passes. This is my last message for now. Don't expect me to return anytime soon. John. Interesting. So that happened on September 10th. And then September 25th, Stephen Paddock checks into the Mandalay Bay.
Now, folks, we're giving you the facts that we know currently. We know that some law enforcement had said 27, 26, 20. I mean, there's different numbers and different things that are floating around here, but this is the best factual information that we have at hand right now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I won't do is to tell you that a fact or tell you that speculation is a fact, or I'll make sure that we are very clear on what we know and what we don't know and what we think are credible evidence and what's not. So that's important to know. That's really important for you guys to realize. There's a lot of people who are they're really, really latching on to the conspiracy theories. And it's really sad. And they're spreading it. They feel like they're doing a service by letting everybody know. We're letting you know that this conspiracy is true, that somebody found some evidence, and they're not letting us know. And guys, it needs to be thought through very carefully and very critically to find out.
Kerry, I did think it through.
Yeah, you just don't know, Kerry.
It was the aliens. They came down once again.
Yeah, so...
He's got ties to Russia, just like... oh boy, who killed JFK.
Right. So basically what happened is September 25th, Stephen Paddock checks into the Mandalay Bay. This guy, who we found out through interviews with his brother and just some, figuring out who this guy was. This is a high roller that lives in Las Vegas. He'd become a professional gambler. And one thing I want to let you guys know before I go any further, I have so much of my own background and knowledge on this particular topic that you are going to get information from me that you're just not going to hear. Some insight, some commentary from me that is more accurate and more trustworthy than you're going to hear anywhere else because of my background. When it comes to talking about Stephen Paddock and what his lifestyle is or was, my father has an extremely similar lifestyle. The only difference between what Stephen Paddock was doing for the past couple of years in Vegas and what my dad does is my dad doesn't do it on such a large, expensive level. My dad goes to Vegas and doesn't pay a dime for anything ever. And he goes there for half a month, twice a year. So he spends a 12th of his entire year, almost a 10th, almost 10% of his entire year in Vegas. So he's not quite on the level of actually living there and collecting all the comps and stuff like that. But he never pays for hotel rooms. He never pays for food. So I know, and by the way, a lot of times I go with him on these trips. And not just Vegas either.
When I lived out in California, we would meet up. When I lived in L.A., my wife and I would meet up with his father.
Right.
All the time.
So I have a particular insight on casinos that unless you go to Vegas pretty regularly, and I'll throw this one out there too. When I was stationed in Yuma, Arizona, we got deployed to Nellis Air Force Base for 60 days.
Wow.
And during that 60-day period, I was designated, I actually volunteered to do it, to be the bus driver.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, for all of the Marines who wanted, because we were deployed there, so they didn't have their vehicles. Almost nobody had their vehicles because we were just deployed. It wasn't like we all said, all right, jump in the vehicles and let's go to Vegas.
It wasn't like if you were in the Air Force, we pulled our money together and rented a car. It wasn't like that either.
No, they either threw us all in Greyhound buses or they flew us. And then we were not stationed, but it was called deployed. You were deployed there temporarily, and in this case it was 60 days. It was like 2 back-to-back 30-day deployments nonstop. And so we're in Nellis Air Force Base, and I would drive everybody on Fridays and Saturdays to the Strip and drive them back. And while I was there waiting on them to have fun and do party and whatever, I would hang out on the Strip and in the casinos, and since I had the vehicle, I'd drive wherever I wanted. It was a lot of fun. So that's what I did, and I have a lot of insight into that. So it's important that you understand that. Plus, I have a Marine Corps background. I'm a rifle expert. This was a shooting that happened to use AR-15s, which are basically M16s. I know them backwards and forwards. We were required to disassemble them, clean them, and reassemble them in the dark, practically, and do it very quickly. So I have a knowledge about these kinds of weapons. Having been a rifle expert and having loved the rifle range, I know what it's like to have to be in the butts is what they call it. It's the spot where you man the targets, and they shoot at you. They shoot at the targets, and you're standing by the targets, and you're protected by a big earthen berm.
Okay.
So you're underneath the berm, and the rest of it is just you're outside. And you put the targets way up in the air above your head, above the berm, and then they shoot at the targets. So I know exactly what it sounds like when you have bullets coming in from long range, and what it sounds like when they pass you by. I know exactly what it sounds like.
Right.
And also, I also have I went to college for aerospace engineering, and in that particular field, we were required to be very rigorously trained in the sciences, particularly physics. And it just so happens that I made the dean's list multiple times, and I got straight A's in physics for engineers. So there's calculations I did on problems like this were in the hundreds of calculations, lots and lots of math, lots of calculus. I got straight A's in calculus. I understand the physics behind these things that end up being scientific phenomenon if you really stop and think about it. And so when I'm with all of this wealth of knowledge, and by the way, my sister worked in surveillance at Graham Vic.
Yeah, she definitely did.
She worked at surveillance. So when this whole thing was popping down, I called her up and said, "What do you think of this?" And she gave me her unique insight on what it's like to work in the dark room with all of the screens.
TV screens everywhere.
She was literally the eye in the sky.
That is so cool.
My sister was the eye in the sky. So when I tell you what I think of this, first and foremost, if I am not 100% sure about something, I'll tell you that. I'll say, I'm not 100% sure. All right? That's really important for you to know. And all of my background. So take all that into consideration. I know the casinos. I know the city of Vegas. I know firearms. I know this particular firearm. I know what it sounds like when bullets whiz by you. There are people out there that are like, I own hundreds of guns. I've shot hundreds of guns. I've shot everything. But they've never had a bullet whiz by them.
You don't know what that sounds like.
You don't know unless you had a bullet whiz by. There's some people out there, some people are blasting at me. They said, I was in the Marine Corps. I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran. I have been shot at by terrorists. I've been shot at by Afghani, enemy. I know what it sounds like. But here's what you don't. Do you have a background in engineering? Some of them don't even have a background in engineering, and they don't understand the science behind the sounds that we're hearing in these videos.
Well, not only that, but I think it's a little bit different being shot at on a maybe not on an if you're being shot at in combat. Mm-hmm. I think the bullets would be less whizzing by you than if you were manning the target.
Yeah, in fact, some people say, Carrie, did you hear the sound of bullets impacting? I said, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. And I said this in a public tweet. You all can read it. I said, I have no idea what it sounds like when a bullet impacts the ground because I've never been close enough to a bullet impacting anything. I have heard ricochets. There's times where a really bad shot at the rifle range will hit the berm. And instead of going into the berm, the tip of it will hit the berm and it'll tumble like a cartwheel over the top of the berm, and you can clearly hear that. In fact, sometimes it hits the target, and there'll be an oval-shaped hole on the target.
Wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah, because the bullet went through the target tumbling. and we're supposed to count that as a miss. Even if you hit the bullseye, it's counted as a miss because you hit the berm.
Oh, right.
It's like cornhole.
Right.
If you hit the ground and it bounces up and goes on the...
Don't count, man.
Right.
Don't count.
So I do know what a ricochet sounds like, and I know what it sounds like when the bullets fly by. I don't know what it sounds like when the bullets are impacting the ground. So that being said, I just want to get that little preface out of here before we get into the actual shooting. So he goes up, he gets this hotel room. He's up on the 32nd floor. He's there since the 25th. Several days later, he does a shooting. He shoots hundreds and hundreds of rounds. There's a lot of early speculation as to how many rounds he shot. There is a video that somebody sent me on YouTube. It's a YouTube video. And funny, I actually seen this video months ago, if not years ago. Saw this video a long time ago. And it's basically a guy with an AR-15 attempting to break it by firing fully automatic as fast as he can.
He's trying to melt it down.
Until there was meltdown. Full meltdown failure. And so he did it, but it was a little surprising. About a couple hundred rounds into it, he said, "I think it's about to die. I think it's done for. It's going to explode. It's getting a little scary, a little dangerous." So he said, "But let's keep going.
You can't stop."
So he keeps on firing. He's reloading clips very fast. He's shooting full auto, and he gets through X amount of clips, and finally he clicks. There's kind of a funny bang. He jerks his head back. He's like, "Oh, it's done. It's melted down. It's the gas tube melted,
right,
which is a thin tube that connects the front of the barrel to the back of the barrel." But anyway, I ended up counting how many rounds it was by counting how many clips and counting how many clips. I know people get triggered when I say clips. It's magazines, but I'm okay.
You're not supposed to say clip anymore?
Oh, there's people out there's gun Nazis, or I should say weapons Nazis. You can't say gun either.
What?
Well, you remember that scene from Full Metal Jacket where he said, "This is my rifle, this is my gun," and he's grabbing his crotch. Yeah. They're trying to teach the people.
It's my rifle.
You're supposed to call it a rifle, not a gun. But anyway, I'm cool with the layman's nomenclature.
I call them aircraft instead of airplanes.
Yeah, I don't call it airplanes either.
Aircraft.
It's aircraft. You know, my brother, who's an engineer on for trains.
Yes, I had this conversation. Yes, I triggered him.
He gets triggered if you call it train tracks. You got to call it railroad tracks. But anyway, I'm totally cool with the nomenclature being a little bit layman friendly. I'm okay with that. So clips, whatever. So I counted all these bullets up. Bullets, they're not bullets, they're rounds. I counted, it's 830.
Holy smoke.
And the reason this was a conversation is because people were wondering if he had so many freaking weapons up there because he knew that the rate of fire that he was going to attempt to do
could ruin them.
Well, yeah. Well, if it fails, then he's going to need another barrel, and in this case, he's going to need a whole new gun.
And you wouldn't fix the one you got. Right. Just drop that and grab another one.
So that was the speculation as to why he had so many weapons up there. That sort of makes sense, except it seems like you could shoot as many as 830 rounds before it failed. So I believe that it's plausible, not likely, but plausible, that he could have done this entire shooting with one weapon. Do I think that he was smart enough and knowledgeable enough to know that he needed more than one? That's tough. That's tough to... I would say that I'd be surprised to learn that he knew that he needed more than one gun for this.
Okay, somebody said, nope, it can't melt. It's stainless steel.
Is this a 9/11?
Fire does not melt steel.
No. The gas tube will melt, and when the gas tube melts, you're in big trouble. Then the whole thing's going down.
So just look it up. Gas tube melts.
Or
research it.
AR-15 meltdown or something like that. Yeah. So anyway, so that was his speculation. But he goes up there, he breaks out the window, and there's a hammer up there. There's like a 3-pound hammer. People are calling it a tactical hammer. I called it a tactical hammer because that's what was reported. And then I saw the picture. I own the exact hammer he has.
Home Depot special.
It is. It's a Home Depot 3-pound hammer. Period. It's not a tactical hammer.
And when you told me this, I was in my tactical vehicle with my tactical crew.
Yeah. So apparently there's a running joke that I'm not aware of. I just learned this week, that the word tactical is used to describe anything to make it sell better, I guess.
Yes, and if you were in our private meetup group,
you could be a part of the inside joke.
You would have had a blast looking at the pictures we were posting, calling them tactical.
Right. So Brian had his tactical family in his tactical vehicle.
No, with my crew.
Tactical crew.
My crew.
Okay.
They had my back.
All right. I believe them. I believe they did have your back. So he goes up there and he unloads, and if you listen to the audio and ignore the echoing or whatever it is that you hear, or that you think that you hear, it sounds like he fires a clip, and then he takes a kind of a surprisingly long time to reload, and fires the next clip, and then reloads and fires the next clip. And I didn't even bother to count how many clips or magazines he went through. But it was he went through a lot, and he fired for about 9 minutes and 37 seconds or something like that. And I believe you could probably count up all of the bullets fired, and you would probably find that he fired probably about 1,000 or less rounds. And I'm basing that on the video that I just referenced. The 830 rounds, how long do you think it took for him to fire those? And that was a real fully automatic. That was not a bump stock. 6 minutes.
Okay.
6 minutes to fire off 800. And by the way, the rate of fire in this video was clearly and substantially faster than the rate of fire that the shooter had in Vegas.
I am a machinist, folks. Okay. I have been for many, many, many years. And that's what I did when I was in the Air Force. And we actually had to take a class, a heat treating class. Heat treating of metals, and I thought it was fascinating. I mean, science is what it is, and you're literally mixing different metals together to come up with a more superior metal, and using heat and different types of cooling technique. It's really detailed. I loved it a lot. And for those of you who don't think that something like 304 stainless does not melt, you're absolutely insane. All metals are melted to then form a shape of something else. Or they're melted and other alloys meaning other things.
What about cold formed or whatever? What do they call that?
Forged.
Forged.
Yeah, forged.
And you bang it out.
Well, they would, and check this out. Back in the day before they had heat treating, they would bang out metals, and then as they were pounding it, would put other things on it and literally pound that into the metal itself.
There's YouTube videos out there on how to make professional style swords from scratch by hand, and they do just that. They sprinkle charcoal on it to get the carbon in the carbon steel.
More carbon in the steel. So in order for you to get 304 stainless, 318 stainless, in order for you to get these molybdenum or chromoly or whatever exotic material you want, it has to be melted. So don't tell me stainless can't 2,500 degrees. That's about pretty much anything you got's going to melt.
Before Brian goes too far down that rabbit hole.
I'm not going down. I just want to lay that out. Steel can be melted very easily. It's not that hard.
Well, it's something that is that does have a melting point. Once you get to that melting point, it melts. But I don't want to go too far down and get down the weeds of heat and the barrel and all that kind of stuff, because I don't think people are not arguing that. So I don't want to waste too much time on it. People aren't even arguing that.
Okay.
My assessment on the barrel getting overly hot or the gun jamming or whatnot, my point is no sane person, and I'm not accusing this guy of being sane, but a lot of people are saying he's smart. No smart person who's trying to pull this thing off successfully or whatever, or wants to actually do this, thinks that he needs 23 weapons, which is what was found up there, in order to make this happen. I mean, I think if you get more than 5, you're just being overly precautious. Like, oh my gosh, way overly precautious. You need 5 weapons up there to pull this off. So 23 is something you need to think about. Like, what was the purpose of 23 weapons being up in the room? So that's the next thing. So as you may notice, he's firing at this concert. and there's supposedly 22,000 people at this concert. And they, there's a lot of videos out there, and it's really hair-raising. And a lot of people listening right now probably heard a lot of it. When I first saw the videos, I was the reaction. I haven't had that reaction since I saw a video of 9/11. I haven't had that kind of hair-raising. Like, I remember seeing a couple of little chunks of video from Pulse nightclub, which weren't that great as far as information. There wasn't a lot of information in them. And then I saw a couple little chunks of videos from the Paris shooting, the Paris nightclub shooting. And those had a little bit of information in them, but it just didn't really freak me out like I got from 9/11 and from this. There was just something hair-raising. And probably because I've been to so many crowded events like that, whether it's a concert or a race like the Indy 500. And, of course, they were using a weapon that I recognized very well. I recognized the sound and everything. It was just really freaky. But he fired into this crowd, probably at close to, if not exceeding 1,000 rounds into this crowd. And they eventually, once they realized what was actually happening, they fled as fast as they could. 58 dead on the scene. One more, which would be him, which he ended up committing suicide. And then there's all these videos being released of people videotaping them getting out of there. Some people were videotaping in there. Some people were videotaping. There was a taxi cab driver that was parked at the Mandalay Bay when this thing was going on.
We talked about that, jeez.
And Mike Closer, actually, I think he's at Mike Closer on Twitter, took credit for a video that I asked on Twitter, whoever did this, thank you so much. It's very, very good, very informative. Took a collage of about 5 or 6 different videos from the shooting because they were taken at different times. Some people weren't recording at first, and once the shots rang out,
makes sense.
They busted out and said, oh my gosh, I got to record this. And so they hurried up and started recording. And there were other people that were recording beforehand and some people that were recording late into it. And he made a collage that had a timeline with the actual time of the event and everything going. And he would paste the video at the very moment they started with the sound synchronized. So all these videos were synchronized, and it was really cool. And and it was very, very informative and helpful because all these videos, when you watch them by themselves, you're just like, okay, well, how long has he been shooting? Or sometimes they cut the video off. For whatever reason, they decided, I got to make my escape, and to hell with this video. I got to make an escape. I got to save my life. And so that was really helpful. And so you get a chance to hear, using that collage, you can hear and see multiple different angles, the entire duration of the entire shooting, and you can take out of it what you will. Now, conspiracy theories. There are a bunch of conspiracy theories. And when I debunk some of them, or I point out that somebody else has debunked some of them, I get attacked as if I'm not trying to hear the truth. But they don't know that I'm actually totally entertaining some pretty wild conspiracy theories that are different than these people's conspiracy. Why? Because they haven't been debunked yet.
Right.
And I'll point out, I'll never trick you into believing that I am saying that these things are fact if we haven't had any evidence. But there's definitely some narratives that are plausible.
What about the gun running one?
Well, let's go through some of the ones that we can say are
the biggest
are
one
fake.
that people are saying right now on Periscope. They keep saying that it was a gun running scheme gone bad.
Well, before we get to that, we'll get to the
Okay.
different ones. Let's talk about one that where answers need to be made.
Okay, hold on. The Lockheed Martin one, you've got to stop with that, folks.
Okay, so there's a guy who wrote on there. I don't even know where they wrote this, but somebody wrote this thing that sounded like this guy knew what he was talking about. For those of you listening, if you don't know it, I'm sorry. I wish I could refer to you exactly what it was. Somewhere 1,000 tweets ago in my timeline, I may have retweeted it or commented on it. But somebody wrote that because this guy worked for Lockheed Martin, that he would somehow have some kind of an inner track or some sort of a connection with the CIA. And let me tell you something.
I worked with people who worked for Lockheed Martin.
Well, me personally, I worked for General Electric aircraft engines, which has a very similar situation with regards to the government that Lockheed Martin would.
Yes.
So I can tell you firsthand that I was surrounded by almost an entire workforce of people that didn't know anybody that worked in the government.
Subcontractors or contractors like Lockheed Martin, they do not have access to the government like you think they do.
Yeah,
they have a contract with the government.
They're conflating the fact that these people make military aircraft, that they are the military.
They're even deeper. They're in closer because they actually... No, they're not closer because they make the aircraft. I was closer because I actually worked with high-level individuals in the military on the F-16. And I worked with Lockheed Martin employees on the F-16. They came to me for knowledge and access.
Now, I will tell you this. In a short while here, we're already at 7:30. We got a half hour to bust this all out. I will tell you that I am not ruling out whatsoever that Stephen Paddock could be a CIA agent or a contractor for the CIA, some sort of a gun runner, independently contracted through the CIA. None of that I discount because anything's on the table, right? But when somebody says that because they work for Lockheed Martin, that verifies it or lends credence to that, I'm just going to tell you, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And I'm telling you this from firsthand knowledge. Just because you worked for a defense contractor, this is just a private company, literally a private company who won a contract to make a military weapon for the government. That's it.
And we know someone very, 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 very personal to us that approves or denies the contracts who works for the DOD.
He negotiates.
He negotiates, and technically he is at a higher level than any of the contractors are.
Yeah, he would laugh
He's
at
the
that.
gatekeeper.
He would laugh. So that little letter that you saw, I don't know if it was a post on 4chan or whatever, that is a bunch of crap.
Anything from 4chan is crap.
No, not anything.
Come on, that's jokes.
I'll go with Jack Posobiec said 99% of everything written on 4chan is crap, but 1% of it is really good. So that's what he said. I'll go with that. I'm not saying that you should automatically discount it as crap, but I would say that you should start with it being crap and then see if there's
and then try and get it try and clean it up.
Try to clean it up. So there was a woman who got kicked out of the concert,
right,
for telling everybody, or she said that everybody's going to die.
Right.
Now, here's what I want to know about that. Now, initially, the first reports is that this woman fit the description of Mary Lou, who's the girlfriend of Stephen Paddock, which has been debunked because she has been found in the Philippines. So the woman that ran in there and told everybody they were going to die is not Mary Lou. So the question is, who is this woman? Does she know Stephen? Was it a coincidence? My initial reaction the day after the shooting was that this has got to be a coincidence. And then there were other information that came out that had since been debunked that made me question my first initial assessment. My assessment today is there's something that needs to be answered. And the woman who was interviewed needs to have this follow-up question. And Brian, you could totally relate this to this. Please let me know what you think of this. Is there a difference between somebody getting kicked out of a venue for saying that you're all going to die and somebody getting kicked out of the venue and then saying you're all going to die?
Oh.
Is there a difference?
Yes.
What is the difference? Tell me what the difference is. It sounds the same to me. You tell me the difference.
The difference is that they got kicked out for saying it versus being kicked out and then saying it.
So what does that mean?
What it means is that if she got kicked out and then said it, it could be one of two things. She could be saying it as a drunken idiot that say, "The hell with you, I'm going home, I'm going to get my gun, you're all going to die."
And she didn't mention a gun, she just said you're all going to die.
You're all going to die, so if I can find my car keys. and I can get home, I'm coming back for all you.
Right. So I don't think it was made clear by the woman who was being interviewed, who claimed that there was a woman there that said that everybody's going to die. She did not make it clear whether she was telling her she was going to die because she was getting kicked out, or that she got kicked out because she was being unruly, and then told them that they're all going to die. They're all going to die. Hey, this woman's telling us all we're going to die. Can we get her kicked out? And then she gets kicked out. There's a big difference, a really big difference. If we find out that this woman said that everybody was going to die because she got kicked out, this person's irrelevant. She's not part of this. If she got kicked out for telling everybody that she's going to die, it'd really be nice to find her and find out why she said that. What kind of person is she? Is she the first person to ever tell a large group of strangers they're all going to die for no reason? No, she's not the first one. There's crazy people. And those of you that live in normal little towns that are listening right now, there's some crazy people in Vegas. I told you at the beginning of the show, it's my second town, my second city, my second home.
I've been there 6 to 12 times.
There's crazy people there.
Yeah, there's crazy people there.
Yeah. I mean, Stephen Paddock lived there.
Right.
His brother, I think, might live there.
Whether the Saudis own the top 5 floors of a hotel or not is insignificant, because whether they own the floors or not is not a direct correlation to the shooter. There's no just because.
Well, it's like the CEO. Laura Loomer, I guess, was reporting about how the CEO has connections with the Democrats and Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Well, you got to start thinking logically. That's great information. I'm glad she unearthed that, and it may be connected in some very, very big conspiracy. But on its face, why would the CEO want a shooting to happen at his hotel? This is common sense.
And if the Saudis owned 5 floors that the shooter was at, do the Saudis want a shooting at their hotel? They would set it up at a different hotel. Don't
like
bring
a competitor.
Don't bring. Hey man, if I own McDonald's, I'm gonna ruin Burger King. I'm not gonna ruin my own store.
Right. So somebody asked earlier on the message board here. I didn't miss it and didn't forget it. Have I seen any muzzle flashes? I've seen a lot of footage. Not all footage has very good footage of Mandalay Bay. A lot of it is just looking around. Nobody knows where the shots are coming from. I did not see a single muzzle flash anywhere. Do I find that a little bit curious? A little bit. There was a couple of videos, at least 2, where the video camera was facing the Mandalay Bay while the shots were coming in. And I tried to look very closely, and I really didn't see a muzzle flash. I find that interesting. That is interesting. I did do night fire. We did night fire in the Marine Corps training. And during night fire, I do remember there being a muzzle flash, but it really wasn't really bright. But it surprises me that if he was hanging out of the window firing it, it does actually surprise me that you wouldn't see any muzzle flash. I would like to know if there were bullet holes in the curtains. Could he have been shooting? Could he have had it in a fixed aim position so he knew exactly where he needed to aim and just kept the curtain closed?
It's possible.
The curtains were closed in the pictures in the hotel room. Some people, and also every single piece of every picture from outside and inside the Mandalay Bay, the curtains are closed completely. Makes me wonder if he was shooting through the curtains. So
what about? So when you're saying muzzle flash,
the 4th floor shooter.
People are putting stuff up.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the 4th floor shooter. This is important because we've got to get away from the fake news. We've got to stop with the spreading of things that have been verified false. There is a flashing strobe that looks like it's somewhere near the 4th floor on the Mandalay Bay, and you could see the flashing.
Oh, dude, that's like somebody's having a party in there.
Somebody said it might even be a room that was that had a club, like there was a club there or something.
Well, that would make sense because the shooter actually called hotel security multiple times and said that the noise from the party below me is out of control.
Yeah, but he's on the 32nd floor. I think he was complaining about the people on the 31st floor.
Oh, okay. And so you're saying the flash they're claiming is all the way on the
the fourth floor.
Okay, my bad. But
right.
still.
So here's the thing.
That does look like a party, though.
Right. Well, turns out there is footage of that same light flashing long after the massacre was over.
Debunked.
It's debunked. Totally debunked. It's just some sort of strobe. Some people are speculating, is it a fire alarm? Some people are saying it's part of the light portion of a club. It could just be, it could be anything. We're in Vegas, guys. There's lights and mirrors everywhere.
And just anecdotally, if I went to Vegas with some friends, L.A., L.A. goes to Vegas every weekend. So there may be a hotel room that's a huge room, and you might have 3 or 4 sets of adults that all go there to live it up. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And somebody brought from the dollar store a strobe light. They're having a party in the room.
Could be. I've seen some stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen stuff like that.
Okay.
It happens.
So that's one. So that the fourth floor, if anybody brings up the fourth floor, and this is what pisses me off, people will send me articles and videos where somebody's trying to make a point, and then somewhere in the article, they try to bring up either related, unrelated, whatever, the fourth floor shooter. And I'm like, you're already destroying your credibility. I can no longer listen to a thing you're saying because you're entertaining this fourth floor shooter thing. People are saying, yeah, but you can open the windows on the fourth floor. Citation, please. Please tell me, show me where you know that it is a fact that there's any windows on the Mandalay Bay that open.
And just because CBS News reported witnesses recall seeing muzzle flash on the fourth floor, if you see that, they're asking a witness that's on the ground being shot at, and they're looking at the building, and they're like, there's flashing lights and shooting. And I'm telling you right now, you're not in your right mind as a witness. You're just not.
The next one is the flashing light muzzle flash coming from the upper right portion of the stage where the lights are, way at the top, and the roof. Turns out, and that's been spread all over the place, turns out that flashing light is a helicopter, and there's other footage that verifies it. It's a helicopter. You need to throw out the conspiracy theory that somebody was shooting from the roof of the stage. It's just not happening. The next one is the cop, the armed, uniformed cop inside the venue was captured. This is a crazy conspiracy theory. Check this out. Totally false, by the way. Let's just start off by saying that one of the cops in uniform with a reflective yellow vest on was captured 10 feet away from the cameraman, firing point blank at people inside the venue. And at first I was like, what? That would be like hilariously ridiculous if that's true. Can you give me a link to the video? Well, like 2 days later, I finally get the video. Turns out it was a video that I had seen about a dozen times prior. They saw this cop, and he was ducking, and they called it a tactical position. He was in a tactical stance.
With tactical weapons.
And he pulled out, he did have his gun unholstered. And there was actually a flash of light. And at first I thought, oh, somebody running by walked into the beam of a floodlight. That's what I thought it was initially. Somebody else said, no, the cop is holding a flashlight. He turned it on. Now, here's the thing. There's audio on this video. The video that they're referencing has audio. Okay. You're 10 feet away from a cop, and you're claiming this guy's shooting point blank at the people on the ground. They're getting hit, and they're falling and rolling. And he stands up, this cop stands up, and walks with his face right in front of the camera, just looking around. And they're trying to claim that guy just shot a bunch of people point blank. This is insane. If you believe that video showed what I just described, just stop. Stop what you're doing. Collect your thoughts. You need to see possibly some professional help.
Seek out a doctor, man.
Yeah, it's really, really scary that you even are entertaining this crap. All right, so the big one that I'm getting into knockdown dragouts with everybody is, are there multiple shooters?
That's been blowing up the message board right now.
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to get this right out in the open so you guys are not confused about where I'm coming from on this. Do I or have I ruled out a multiple shooters, more than one shooter? Have I ruled that out? No, I have not ruled out multiple shooters at all. However, I have yet, and I've seen dozens, literally, I've probably seen at least 20 completely distinct, separate videos that people have videoed from all kinds of different areas. Not a single one has a single shred of evidence of a second shooter. And some people are like, what? You obviously didn't see the one I saw. There's multiple out there that are saying that show clearly. You'd hear it. Did you see the taxi driver? Yes, I've seen the taxi driver one. I watch a thing in slow motion 60 times.
How was she not? Was that the woman?
Yes.
How was she not shot?
There's only one taxi driver video.
Oh my goodness!
She drove right under the line of fire. Oh my gosh!
And still didn't believe it.
She didn't. She let these people out, screaming bloody murder, people running all over the place, crawling all over each other over the fence to escape this thing. There's cops in tactical positions, defensive positions. I'm not going to be able to stop using that word tactical anymore. That are trying to defend from bullets flying in, and she's driving by these people. After all that, she drops off her freaked out customers and says, "You guys aren't kidding, are you? You guys aren't kidding." Dude, she deserved a tongue lashing after that. Like, this guy finally just blew up on her. But anyway, so the taxi driver video, watch the video again, and also listen to it in context of all the facts we know. Question: did we or did we not hear reports that from officials that he fired inside the room towards the hallway? Are we not aware that a security guard in the hallway got shot in the leg?
Well, it's not talked about.
It's known. This is a fact.
Right, but it's not broadcasted widely on the mainstream media.
Apparently not. So somebody got shot. The word I heard was he shot as many as 200 rounds down the hallway. All right.
Wow.
Would that make a sound?
Hell yeah.
Could you possibly hear that outside the broken windows of his place? If you were close enough, I would venture to guess yes.
Yeah, you would hear that in the room of a broken window.
Right. And the question is, and Brian, you tell me, and Brian is an Air Force veteran, so he's not really a rifle expert.
No, and I'll be the first to tell you, we shot an M16 for 4 to 6 hours one day, and that was it. Most of the POWs around the world in wars are Air Force members because we don't carry guns and we're on a base.
Well, I heard that the pilots do have a handgun, but I don't know.
Pilots do, but not the rest of us.
Okay, so my question to you is, do you think, based on your very, very limited knowledge of world, of physics, and do you think it might sound a little different? Hold on, I'm not done. If you're standing on the ground, 32 floors below an open window, a broken window, do you think it would sound different if I were to fire a gun out the window versus firing it inside that room towards the hallway?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just telling you, just thinking about it, if I'm pointing the gun towards the window and I'm firing out that window, the sound and velocity is going to go that way. If I'm down the hallway, shooting up and down the hallway.
Well, I'm assuming that the door was closed, but he was definitely, because he had surveillance cameras. He had cameras in the hallway so that he could see who's coming down the hallway.
And would shoot through the wall?
Oh, the door. By the way, you didn't know this. You don't know this.
Dude, I'm getting briefed.
Okay, so the room is like a high roller suite.
Right.
It's the last door on the hallway. If you open the door, you're looking down the length.
Oh, man.
You're not looking at the door across the hall. You're looking down the hallway. So you notice how the end of the hotel has like a chamfer, two chamfers? He has the whole thing. The whole
that
middle
whole corner.
Yeah, the whole thing on both sides.
Right.
He could have actually shot 180 degrees away from the concert. He had windows over there. It goes all the way around. The door to enter that suite is the door that you're looking at when you're walking down the hall.
Okay. If the gun is out the window, it's going to sound differently than if he's shooting at the door.
Right.
But if he's shooting at the door and doesn't do anything other than moves his body to then shoot more out the window, but he's far from the window, that sound might not be different.
Right. I mean, it's possible that they're saying that he was shooting from a distance from the window. It doesn't sound like it was that much of a distance. If you listen to a lot of the audio from especially the taxi driver, it sounds like he was practically holding the muzzle out the window. I mean, it was extremely loud. And these are loud guns anyway. But yeah, you would think that it would be a little bit more muffled if the muzzle was well within the broken window, like he was standing way back behind the window and shooting out the window from a distance. But it doesn't seem like it sounded like that. Why speculate that when we have evidence that he probably wasn't doing that? It sounds like he was.
Okay, because
literally.
we're running out of time. Theory.
Okay.
Why did he do this?
Let me wrap that up then. So the sound difference you hear, I think it's really important on the taxi driver thing. People are spreading. They're calling it the Zapruder film. They're calling the taxi driver the Zapruder film. So anyway, that is plausible that the sound that you hear sounding like a more distant gun was just the difference between him shooting out the window and shooting into the hotel.
I'll buy that.
Okay. That being said, it's not proof of a second shooter. All it is inconclusive. If you're trying to say it's a second shooter, I would say inconclusive. For sure, 100%. It's scientific fact. It's not my opinion. Inconclusive. All right. So the big thing is, multiple shooters from videos that were from a distance. Very important. It's very, very important. Guys and girls, listen carefully. I don't care who tells you otherwise. Listen to me because I'm right. Period. Point blank. All covered by science, all covered by all of this. Physics. When you shoot a gun, it makes a loud bang. That is the powder burning from the shell. It's an explosion that happens from lighting the gunpowder in the shell and sending the bullet on its way. That's the bang that you hear when somebody shoots a gun. What a lot of you guys don't know, and I'm trying to educate everybody, please listen to me and have an open mind. These bullets are going, the muzzle velocity of an M16 which is an AR-15, 3,000 feet per second. Do you know how fast 3,000 feet per second is?
Faster than speed of sound.
2,100 miles per hour. That's almost 3 times the speed of sound. Almost 3 times the speed of sound. That creates a sonic boom. And that sonic boom is so loud that if a bullet comes near you, and I know this from firsthand knowledge from being in the butts at the rifle range, you need hearing protection. It's deafening. The sonic boom or the sonic snap you hear from a round coming out of an M16 or an AR-15 is deafening.
It would have to be.
That being said, any bullet that passes you by, close or far away, is going to have its own distinct sound that is separate from the gun.
Absolutely.
This is the key understanding to why you're hearing echoes. Everybody's like, well, there's buildings in the area, so there's echoes. No, there's not. There's Mandalay Bay. There's the one other building. The Luxor has 45-degree angle. There's no echo off of that. When the sound hits that, it goes up into space.
Right.
You're not getting an echo off of Luxor. The amount of echo that you're getting from these gunfires is extremely minimal. These buildings are very far apart, very minimal echo. What you're hearing is 2 distinct sounds. The firing of the gun and the sonic boom from each and every bullet that comes out of there and travels. Now, somebody said, well, I heard it far away. There was a distance way far away. It was on the other side of the venue. It was far away shot and then it was close. That's because the shooter was shooting in an area that wasn't close to the guy taking the video, and then he moved the gun, the muzzle, towards the the guy taking the video, and bullets were passing by close. Those were the sonic snaps you were hearing. And it does have a different pitch.
Well, and if the bullet slows down to the point to where it's not breaking the speed of sound, by the time it reaches you, it's going to sound different.
Yeah, but it's going to take quite a distance. I would say longer. Let me put it to you this way. Our longest distance at the rifle range was 500 meters. They were
it's further than this.
Yeah, further.
Okay.
500 meters.
Okay.
That's our maximum range or maximum distance that we shoot at targets at the rifle range. They were absolutely supersonic at 500 meters.
Wow,
it was
that's
deafening.
That's pretty cool.
You can also hear the difference in the timing of the shot, the bullet going over your head, and the shot from the muzzle. There's a difference because sound takes a finite amount of time to get to you. Just like you guys see the lightning during thunderstorms, and then you hear the thunder afterwards.
Right.
That's the phenomenon we're talking about. So at the rifle range, when I hear the bullet go overhead, about a second later, I hear the boom from the gun. So there is a difference. And you're going to hear what sounds like echoes is not echoes at all. You're hearing the difference in the gun being fired and the snaps of the bullets. And if the bullet lands close to you, it's a loud snap. And if it's going by you further away, it'll be a less loud snap. And if he moves the muzzle towards you quickly, you're going to hear quiet, quiet, loud, 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 really loud, and then you're going to hear it stop. And then you're going to hear the muffled boom from him shooting
other people.
at you.
Yeah. Oh,
Not
yeah.
other people.
Sorry. It will sound. Sorry, I'm reading the messages. It'll sound like it, but it's not.
It's
not.
It's
all him.
It's not. Now, here's the thing. Does that mean that we have proof of a single shooter? Not necessarily. I'm just saying that every single video I saw, and I want you guys to go into those videos. I want you guys to revisit every video. And I want you to revisit with a new mindset. This is your new mindset.
With what we're saying, what Carrie is saying right now, look at that video again.
Yeah, your new mindset is there's two different things that are making a sound. And there's two distinct sounds. There's the gun exploding when you pull the trigger. And there's the bullet snapping with a supersonic sonic boom when it passes by you. And when you know that phenomenon, that physical phenomenon of how sound works, everything will make sense when you're watching it. It all makes sense for a single shooter. Now, are there multiple shooters? We'll be yet to find out. And for the Bellagio, all these other ones you've heard about, Tropicana, Paris, Bellagio, New York, all claiming that there were shots fired. New York, and Bellagio, New York, and Tropicana are within earshot of Mandalay Bay. If they reported gunfire, they probably were hearing the gunfire from Mandalay Bay.
So they're less than 500 yards?
No. They're about they're like a block, like a long block. You know the big blocks,
right.
Like it's the next main road down.
Okay. So
it goes Mandalay Bay, Luxor, Excalibur, and right across the street from Excalibur is Tropicana. So they're within earshot. So that could be. Now, Bellagio, there's one or two videos from Bellagio where people are swearing that they heard gunfire, they hit the deck, there was broken glass.
Okay. Why'd he do it?
Oh, why'd he do it? We're not sure, but do you want to hear a theory? Do we have time for
you got about 2 minutes, maybe less.
We're thinking, you guys taking a seat for this? We're thinking that either ISIS, Antifa, CIA, FBI, or any combination of those entities could be involved. And that it could be that he was doing an illegal gun sale operation, a gun run. Why would you have 23 guns up there?
We just debunked that. All you would need to be 5 or 6.
Right.
To be well.
He would know that you don't need all that.
He would know that he couldn't melt 6 barrels all at the same time.
I feel like it may have been a gun deal gone bad, and it may have been for somebody in ISIS who then used the weapons to pull off the assault. How would they escape? They would escape if you add in the third entity, which is the CIA. If the CIA was helping ISIS do this, they would have helped them escape. Does that make sense? Are you buying that crazy conspiracy theory? So they set up Steve Paddock to do an illegal drug sale.
Okay.
So they do this illegal drug sale. They bring in ISIS to do the purchase, but they tell ISIS you can then go ahead and do your illegal, or you could do your terrorist attack right then and there, and we'll let you escape. You don't even have to die in the process. Why would they do that? Hold on. Why would they do that?
Why?
Because possible false flag. Maybe they were ordered by the powers that be, Obama administration people, that we need something to happen for Second Amendment.
Wow. Best 3 hours you ever spent anywhere, folks. I'm
crazy, but plausible.
Hang out till after the show. If you're on Periscope, I got a little video clip to play for you. If you're on Periscope, you'll be able to see it. Have a good week, folks. Share this, like this, thumb it up. Go to patreon.com/SmithRadio. $1 gets you in a private group.
Hope you had fun. See you guys next week.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.